Welcome to a journey through time. A journey where honor was measured in steel, where loyalty meant more than life itself, where warriors lived by codes so strict that death became poetry. Tonight we explore the samurai, not the Hollywood version, but the real warriors of feudal Japan, their lives, their choices, their end. Let the sounds of distant wind carry you. Let the imagery of cherry blossoms guide you. Let history become your companion. As you drift into sleep, the samurai world begins in mist. In the early centuries when Japan was forming, when clans fought for survival, when the emperor ruled from Kyoto. But power lay elsewhere, in the hands of warriors, in the loyalty of sworn men, in the edge of a blade. We will walk slowly through their world, through castle courtyards at dawn, through training grounds echoing with wooden swords, through quiet moments before battle. There is no rush here, no urgency, only the gentle unfolding of history, only the soft rhythm of a story that spans 1,000 years. You may drift in and out. That is welcome. That is the way. Let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts settle. Let us begin. In the mountains of ancient Japan, where the first warriors gathered, where clans formed around strong leaders, where the samurai emerged from necessity, from violence, from a need for order in chaos. The word samurai comes from the verb saburao, which means to serve, to attend, to wait upon. These were not independent fighters, not mercenaries, not wanderers. They were bound men, sworn to lords, connected by oaths that went deeper than blood. In the beginning, before the samurai had that name, they were simply warriors, fighting for local chieftains, defending rice fields, raiding neighboring territories. Japan in the 8th century was not yet unified. The emperor in Kyoto held symbolic power, but real control was scattered, divided among powerful families. The Fujiwara, the Taira, the Minamoto. These clans built private armies, men trained in horseback archery, men skilled with the bow, the spear, the sword. These were the proto-samurai, men who would become legends, but who began as simple soldiers, farmers who could fight, second sons seeking fortune, men with nothing to lose, and everything to prove. The countryside was dangerous then. Bandits roamed freely. Pirates attacked coastal villages. The imperial court had armies, but they were ceremonial, soft, unused to real combat. So the court began hiring warriors, bringing them in from the provinces. Men who knew how to kill, men who did not hesitate. These hired warriors, these provincial fighters, they were the seed from which the samurai class would grow. One name stands above others in this early period. Taira no Masakado, a warrior who rebelled against the court, who declared himself the new emperor, who carved out his own kingdom in the eastern provinces. For a brief time, he seemed unstoppable. His warriors were fierce, loyal beyond death. They fought not for pay, but for honor, for their lord, for the bond between master and servant. This was the beginning of what would become Bushido, the way of the warrior. Though that term would not exist for centuries, the principles were already forming. Loyalty above all, service without question, death before dishonor. Masakado's rebellion was crushed. He was hunted down and killed, his head displayed in Kyoto. But the idea had been planted, that warriors could hold power, that military strength mattered more than courtly bloodlines. The noble families noticed this. They began cultivating their own warrior bands, treating them better, giving them land, creating hereditary positions. A warrior's son would become a warrior. A loyal family would serve the same lord for generations. This created something new in Japan, a military aristocracy, separate from the court nobles, different values, different culture, different code. By the 12th century, two warrior clans dominated. The Taira controlled the west, the Minamoto the east. Both had served the imperial court. Both had been rewarded with land and titles. Both wanted more. The conflict between them, the Genpei War, would transform Japan forever. This was not a short conflict, not a single battle, but 5 years of warfare, from 1180 to 1185. A war that touched every province, that drew in every warrior family, that forced every man to choose a side. The fighting was brutal. Entire families were wiped out, castles burned, villages destroyed. The Terra had the advantage at first. They controlled the capital. They had the emperor's favor. They had wealth and ships. But the Minamoto had something else. They had Minamoto no Yoritomo, a leader who understood loyalty, who knew how to bind men to his cause, who promised land and power to those who served him. And they had his brother, Minamoto no Yoshitsune, perhaps the greatest warrior Japan has ever known. Yoshitsune was a tactical genius. Small battles, large battles, ambushes, naval combat. He won them all. At Dan no Yura in 1185, the final sea battle of the war, the Terra fleet was destroyed. The emperor himself, still a child, drowned with his grandmother, rather than surrender. The Minamoto had won. The age of the samurai had truly begun. Yoritomo did something unprecedented. He did not take the title of emperor, did not try to join the court nobility. Instead, he created a new position. Shogun, military dictator. He established his capital far from Kyoto, in Kamakura, a small coastal town, where warriors lived, not courtiers. This was the beginning of the Bakufu, the tent government, military rule that would last for nearly 700 years. The emperor remained in Kyoto, still revered, still divine in theory, but powerless. Real control was in Kamakura, in the hands of warriors, in the hands of the samurai. And with this shift came changes. The samurai class became formalized, their privileges, their duties, their rights, all codified. Land grants became standard. A samurai served his lord. The lord protected the samurai's interests, recommended his sons for positions, arranged good marriages. This was feudalism. Japanese style, different from Europe, but with similar structures. Loyalty chains running from top to bottom. Each man bound to the one above, each man commanding those below. The samurai were no longer just warriors. They were landholders, administrators, judges. They collected taxes, maintained order, settled disputes. They became the ruling class, not through birth alone, but through service, through military skill, through loyalty proven in blood. This is where our story truly begins, with the samurai as a class, with their culture forming, with their code taking shape. We will explore their daily lives, their training, their battles, their end. But for now, let the images settle. Let the sounds of ancient Japan fill your mind. The clash of wooden practice swords, the whisper of silk hakama, the careful brushing of calligraphy. The samurai world was complex, beautiful, brutal, and it all began here, in the 12th century, when warriors took control and never let go. Rest now. Let these foundations settle. As we move forward into their world, the morning mist clings to the valley. In the mountains west of Kyoto, a young warrior wakes before dawn. His name is unimportant. He is one of thousands, a minor samurai in service to a local lord. The year is 1220. The Kamakura shogunate is established, but the provinces are still unsettled. Borders still contested. Loyalty still tested. He rises from his thin mat. The room is cold. Winter in the mountains is harsh. He can see his breath. His armor rests in the corner, the leather and iron laced together, the helmet with its fierce face mask. But he will not wear it today. Today is for training, for practice, for maintaining skills that might save his life. He dresses simply. Cotton undergarments, hakama trousers, a training gi, all in subdued colors, brown, gray, the colors of earth and stone, not the bright banners of battle. He ties his hair back. The samurai top knot, a practical style, keeps hair out of the face, makes wearing a helmet easier, but it is also a mark, a sign of his class, of his status as a warrior. Outside the small barracks, other men are stirring. 20 warriors serve this castle. 20 samurai sworn to Lord Nakamura, a minor daimyo, controlling 3 valleys, perhaps 5,000 people. In the hierarchy of feudal Japan, Lord Nakamura is small, but to these 20 men, he is everything. He is their lord, their master, the center of their loyalty. They gather in the courtyard. No words needed. They have done this every morning, for years. Some are veterans, men with scars and missing fingers. Others are young, sons learning their father's profession. The training master arrives, an old samurai, too old to fight now. But his knowledge is deep, his experience vast. He carries a wooden sword, a bakken, heavier than a real blade. Training with it builds strength, and it cannot kill, at least not easily. The men pair off, they bow. A precise bow, 30 degrees, hands at their sides. This is not casual respect, this is ritual. Every movement in samurai culture has meaning, has correct form. The bow acknowledges that in training they will strike each other, that pain is necessary, that injury is possible, but no dishonor is intended. They begin, slow at first, the movements of kata, prescribed forms, attack and defense in sequence. These forms have been passed down, teacher to student, for generations. They contain the wisdom of countless battles, of warriors who learned through blood what works and what does not. The wooden swords move, not with the sharp crack of full combat, but with controlled precision. Each strike has purpose, each block has meaning. This is not exercise, this is preserving life, their own lives, through technique refined over centuries. An hour passes, then 2. The sun rises over the mountain, burns away the morning mist. The men are sweating now, despite the cold. Their breath comes harder, but no one stops. No one asks for rest. The training master walks among them. Occasionally he corrects. A foot placed wrong, a shoulder turned too far. His wooden sword taps a knee, an elbow. Gentle reminders. The body must learn, must remember. In battle there is no time to think. The body must know, must react. Training burns the movements into muscle memory, into instinct. This is how samurai survive, not through thinking, but through trained reaction. Finally the master calls a halt. The men bow again. To him, to each other. Gratitude for the lesson, for the bruises that will teach, for another morning of survival training. They return to the barracks. There is rice, pickled vegetables, miso soup. The food is simple, sufficient but not luxurious. Even the samurai of a minor lord live without excess. In this era, before the long peace of the Edo period, every resource might be needed. For war, for survival. After eating, the day's duties begin. Some men are assigned to patrol. They will ride through the valleys, checking the villages, making sure taxes are being collected, watching for bandits, for signs of unrest. Others remain at the castle, maintaining weapons, practicing archery, studying, yes, studying, because a samurai is expected to be more than a fighter. He should be able to read, to write poetry, to understand accounts, to appreciate beauty. This is part of the code that is slowly forming. The idea that a warrior should also be cultured, refined, capable of appreciating the cherry blossoms. Even as he prepares for death, our young samurai, let us call him Takeshi, though that is not his name. Takeshi is assigned to the castle today. He checks his equipment, his bow, his arrows. The bowstring must be checked, the arrows inspected. Any with damaged fletching, set aside for repair. The bow is his primary weapon in this period. Before firearms, before the sword became the symbol, the bow defined the samurai. Mounted archery, yabusame. This was the highest skill, to gallop at full speed and strike targets with arrow after arrow without missing. This required years of practice, strength, balance, perfect unity between horse and rider, between eye and hand. Takeshi is competent with the bow, but not exceptional. He can hit a man-sized target at 50 paces. Most of the time, This is adequate. In battle he will be part of a volley. Dozens of arrows launched together, creating a lethal rain. Individual precision matters less than coordinated timing. He practices anyway. Standing in the courtyard, shooting at straw targets. The bow is long, asymmetric, the grip below center. This is unique to Japan. This style of bow, longer than the samurai, is tall, designed for use on horseback, where the lower portion must clear the horse's neck. The technique is specific, precise breathing. The draw begins with the bow held high, then brought down. As the string is pulled, the release is a moment of stillness, of perfect balance, when everything aligns: body, mind, breath, intention. The arrow flies. Tekshi's arrow strikes, off-center, not a killing shot, but a wound. He knocks another arrow, and another. Each one a meditation, each one a prayer. To whatever gods watch over warriors. To his ancestors, who also drew this bow. The afternoon wears on. The sun tracks across the sky. Other warriors come and go, some returning from patrol, others heading out. There is a rhythm to castle life, a pattern that repeats. Day after day, season after season. This is not the dramatic life that stories tell. This is the reality of a samurai's existence. 99 days of routine. For every 1 day of battle, long stretches of boredom, punctuated by moments of terror. As evening approaches, Lord Nakamura summons his men. They gather in the main hall. A formal occasion. They wear their better clothing, clean hakama, family crests displayed. They kneel in rows, arranged by rank and seniority. The oldest warriors at the front, the youngest at the back. Lord Nakamura enters. He is 40 years old, a capable administrator, a mediocre warrior. But that does not matter. He is their lord. By birth, by inheritance, by the oaths they have sworn. He kneels at the head of the room, before the family shrine. Candles flicker. Incense smoke rises. He speaks, not loudly. A samurai lord does not shout. Does not need to. His words carry authority, not from volume, but from position. He tells them that the neighboring valley, Lord Sato's territory, has been raiding their villages, stealing rice, burning farms. This cannot be tolerated. Lord Nakamura has sent protests through proper channels, but Lord Sato ignores them, claims the borders are unclear, claims ancient rights, claims justification. None of this matters. What matters is, Lord Nakamura's people are suffering. His rice stores are threatened. His honor is questioned, and so, there will be war. Small war. A border conflict. Perhaps 200 warriors total, on both sides. But war nonetheless. Real combat. Real death. The samurai listen. Their faces show nothing. No fear. No excitement. Just acceptance. This is their purpose. This is why they train. Why they exist. To fight for their lord. When he commands it, Lord Nakamura continues. They will march in 3 days. Each man should prepare. Check armor. Sharpen weapons. Write letters. Say prayers. In 3 days, they ride to war. The meeting ends. The samurai bow. Rise. File out silently. Back to the barracks. Now there is tension. Not fear exactly, but focus. Sharpening. 3 days to prepare. To settle accounts. To make peace with mortality. Tekshi returns to his space. He kneels beside his armor. Begins the inspection. Every piece must be checked. The leather laces that hold it together. If they are worn, they could break. In battle, that means death. The iron plates. Are they loose, rusted, damaged? Each one must be perfect. His life depends on it. He works slowly, methodically. This is meditation. This is prayer. Each knot tied, each plate secured, is a small declaration. I will survive. I will fight well. I will bring honor to my lord, to my name, to my ancestors. Night falls. The castle grows quiet. Tomorrow the same routine. Training, practice, preparation. But everything has changed. Now it is real. Now the practice has purpose. Immediate purpose. In 3 days, the wooden swords become steel. The straw targets become men. The training becomes survival. Takeshi sleeps, but not deeply. His dreams are filled with the faces of his family. His father, also a samurai, dead 5 years now, in a border skirmish, much like the one coming. His mother, living in a temple, since his father's death, praying for his soul. His younger brother, too young to fight, learning the sword, preparing to follow the same path, the family profession, fighting and dying for their lord. This is the samurai life, not glory, not adventure, but duty, heavy as a mountain, inevitable as winter. 3 days pass, too quickly. The preparations are complete, armor packed, weapons sharpened, prayers said, letters written, short letters, because what is there to say? I am going to fight. I may die. Remember me with honor. The morning they depart is gray and cold. Rain threatens. 20 warriors mount their horses, small mountain ponies, sturdy but not impressive. War horses in Japan are not the massive destriers of Europe, but smaller animals, suited to mountain terrain, to rice paddies, to the reality of Japanese warfare. Lord Nakamura rides at the front, his banner carried by his attendant. The family crest, 3 oak leaves, against a white field. Behind him, his samurai, in their armor, looking like iron demons, their helmets with horned crests, their face masks snarling. But inside, they are just men, nervous, determined, resigned. They ride out, through the castle gate, down into the valley. Villagers stop to watch, bow low. The samurai do not acknowledge them. Eyes forward, minds focused on what is coming. The ride takes a full day, through narrow mountain passes, along muddy trails. The rain begins, cold, steady, soaking through everything. By evening they reach the border valley. Lord Nakamura's allies are already there, 2 other minor lords, with their own warriors, perhaps 60 samurai total. They make camp in a temple, abandoned now. The monks fled when war seemed likely. The warriors spread out, claiming space, setting up their gear. No fires are allowed. They eat cold rice, dried fish, drink water from a well. The temple Buddha looks down on them, impassive, unconcerned with human conflict, with human suffering. In the main hall, the lords meet, plan their strategy. Scout reports say, Lord Sato has 80 warriors, a larger force, but the terrain favors the defenders. Narrow approaches, limited fields for cavalry. They will fight defensively. Let Lord Sato attack, break his forces against prepared positions. The samurai listen to these plans, through their commanders, absorb their orders. They will hold the eastern ridge, archers on the high ground, spearmen below. When Lord Sato's forces charge, they will loose volleys, break their momentum. Then the spearmen will finish what the arrows began. It is a simple plan. Plans usually are. Complexity fails in combat. When fear and chaos reign, better to keep it simple. Trust in training, in discipline, in courage. Takeshi checks his arrows again, counts them, 20. He might get to shoot half before the fighting becomes close, becomes spears and swords, becomes blood and screaming. He has never killed a man, not in true combat. He has fought bandits, unarmored peasants, desperate men with farm tools. That is not the same as facing another samurai, another trained warrior, another man who has spent his life learning to kill. The night is long, few sleep well, some pray, whispering to ancestors, to Buddha, to whatever might listen. Others check equipment. For the 10th time, the 20th time, anything to keep hands busy, to keep minds occupied, to push away the fear that sits in every chest, heavy as iron, cold as winter rain. Dawn comes, gray and cheerless. The rain has stopped, but clouds hang low. The temperature has dropped. Their breath mists. They eat sparingly. No one has much appetite. Fear sits in stomachs, makes food taste like ash. But they eat anyway, because they must, because bodies need fuel. For what is coming, the order comes. Form up. The samurai move to their positions. Takeshi climbs the eastern ridge with the other archers, 15 men. They space themselves, arms width apart, so their bows will not interfere. Below, the spearmen wait, standing in loose formation, ready to move forward. When the command comes, the valley spreads before them. Green rice paddies, a narrow road, hills on the other side, empty now. But not for long. They wait, an hour, two. The sun climbs higher, burns through some of the cloud. Still they wait. Waiting is hard, harder than fighting. Fighting is reaction. Waiting is anticipation, imagination, all the ways to die, playing out in every mind. Then, movement. On the far ridge, banners appear. Lord Sato's forces. They come down, into the valley, mounted warriors, perhaps 50, foot soldiers. Another 30, they advance, not slowly, but not charging. Cautiously. They know this is a trap, know they are entering, a prepared defense. But they come anyway, because their lord commands. Because honor demands. Because this is their duty. The distance closes. 300 paces. 200. Takshi can see individuals now. See their armor, their banners, their faces. Behind the snarling masks. 100 paces. The command comes. From Lord Nakamura himself. Loud enough to carry. Knock arrows! As one, the archers respond. Arrows to bowstrings. 15 men, moving in perfect unity. Draw. The bows come up. Strings pulled back. Muscles straining. Arms quivering. Takshi can feel his heartbeat. Can hear his breath. Can see the warrior he is aiming at. A young man, like himself. Wearing armor. Riding a horse. Following his lord. Just like Takshi. Loose. The bowstrings snap. 15 arrows. Arc into the air. Seem to hang. For an eternal moment. Then fall. Into Lord Sato's ranks. Men scream. Horses stumble. The neat formation breaks. Becomes confusion. Knock. Again. The mechanical movement. Arrow to string. Draw. Pull back. Muscles burning now. Loose. Again the arrows fly. Again men fall. This is not glorious. This is not heroic. This is efficient killing. At distance. Where the dying are just shapes. Just targets. Not men. Not people with families. With hopes. With fears. Just targets. That fall or do not fall. Lord Sato's forces cannot reach them. The arrows keep coming. They try to charge. But horses will not. Run into certain death. They balk. Turn aside. The formation collapses further. After the 7th volley. Takshi has 3 arrows left. Lord Sato's forces are retreating, breaking, fleeing back, across the valley, leaving their dead, their dying, their wounded, behind. The battle is over. 10 minutes of combat, perhaps 12, that is all, and it is done. Lord Nakamura's forces have won, without losing a man, a perfect defensive victory. The kind that will be discussed around fires, for years to come. But Takshi does not feel victorious. He feels hollow, empty. He has killed. How many? He does not know. Some of his arrows struck. That much is certain. But which ones? Which men fell? To his arrow. To his action. He will never know. And perhaps that is better. The samurai descend. From the ridge. Walk out. Into the valley. To check the dead. To finish the wounded. This is mercy. Not cruelty. A wounded samurai. Left to die slowly. That is dishonorable. Better a quick death. A blade through the throat. Release from suffering. Takshi walks among them. The enemy dead. Some are older. Grizzled veterans. Who finally met. A death they could not avoid. Others are young. Barely old enough. To tie their hair. To wear armor. To die. One warrior. Is still alive. Badly wounded. An arrow through his chest. Drowning in his own blood. He looks at Takshi. Not with hate. But with relief. With pleading. Takshi understands. Draws his tanto. The short blade. Kneels beside the man. May you find peace, he says. And cuts the throat. Quick, clean. The man shudders. Goes still. Takeshi cleans his blade. Stands. Walks on. This is his first battle. His first kills. He thought he would feel something. Pride. Horror. Anything. But he feels nothing. Just empty. Just tired. Just ready to go home. The bodies are left. Lord Nakamura's men take their own wounded. None died. A miracle. Or good planning. Or luck. Perhaps all three. They ride back to their castle. The journey is quieter than the one coming. No one speaks. Just the sound of hooves, of breathing, of rain, starting again. When they return, there is no celebration, no feast. Just relief. They have done their duty, they have survived. That is enough. Takeshi removes his armor, cleans it carefully. Removes the blood, the mud, stores it away, for the next time. Because there will be a next time. There always is. This is the samurai life. Fighting, surviving, waiting, and fighting again, until finally, one day, the arrow finds you, the blade finds you, death finds you, and you join the ancestors, the countless warriors, who came before, who will come after, an endless chain of service, of duty, of death. Takeshi writes a letter to his mother, short, simple. I have fought, I have survived, I bring honor to father's name, pray for me. He sends it by messenger, then he sleeps for a very long time, dreamless, empty, the sleep of the exhausted, of the survivor, of the warrior, who has finally, truly, become a samurai. The castle town of Odawara. Spring 1560. The morning market is filling with voices, with activity, with the business of living. A samurai walks through, not in armor today, but in formal clothing. Hakama and haori, the divided skirts and jacket, that mark his class. His swords at his side, the long katana, the short wakizashi, the two swords, that only samurai may wear. This is the daisho, the big and small, the symbol of his status, more than the swords themselves, the right to wear them. This marks him as different, as privileged, as dangerous. His name is Yamamoto Kenshin, 28 years old, a mid-ranking samurai, in service to the Hojo clan. His father served the Hojo, his grandfather, his great-grandfather. 4 generations of loyalty, 4 generations of service. This is typical. Samurai families serve the same lord, the same house, for centuries. Loyalty is inherited, like eye color, like the shape of a face. Kenshin walks with purpose, but not hurry. A samurai does not rush, does not show urgency, even when he feels it. Control, composure, these are essential. A warrior who cannot control himself cannot be trusted. In battle, in service, in life, he passes merchants, bowing low as he goes. They recognize his class, the swords, the bearing, the crest on his clothing. They know to show respect, proper respect. Not too much, that would be mockery. Not too little, that would be dangerous. Kenshin acknowledges them with the slightest nod. This is sufficient. More would be inappropriate. A samurai stands above the merchant class in the official hierarchy of Tokugawa Japan. 4 classes: samurai at the top, warriors and administrators, then farmers, who produce food, then artisans, who make things, finally merchants, the lowest, because they produce nothing, only move goods, only profit from others' work. This is the theory. The reality is more complex. Some merchants are wealthy, wealthier than many samurai. They lend money, they control trade, they have power, unofficial power, but power nonetheless. Yet they must still bow, must still show deference to even a poor samurai, because the law says so, because tradition demands it, because the social order must be maintained. Kenshin reaches the rice merchant. He needs to buy rice for his household. His stipend is paid in rice, 200 koku per year, enough for a family, but not wealth, not luxury. A koku is the amount of rice that feeds one person for 1 year. 200 koku means Kenshin can support a family, a servant, perhaps 2, can maintain weapons, armor, horses, can live with modest dignity, but nothing more. He cannot build wealth, cannot save extensively. His income matches his expenses every year. This is intentional. A samurai who becomes too wealthy becomes independent, becomes dangerous. Better to keep them comfortable but not rich, dependent but not desperate. The rice merchant bows. Kenshin states his needs. The merchant calculates, quotes a price. Kenshin nods. The price is fair. He will send his servant to collect the rice. No money changes hands now. Money is vulgar beneath a samurai to handle directly. Everything is done through accounts, through intermediaries, through the careful fiction that samurai do not concern themselves with commerce, with money. with material things. Even though they must. Even though they do. The fiction must be maintained. Transaction complete. Kenshin continues. Through the market. He is not shopping, not exactly. But he observes, notes prices, quality of goods, unusual items. A samurai is expected to understand his town, his domain, to know what is happening, who is trading with whom, what goods are flowing. This is part of his duty. As an administrator, as a guardian, he passes the sake seller, the tea merchant, the cloth dealer, each one bowing, each one respectful, some more genuinely than others. He notes this too. Who shows proper respect? Who seems resentful? These things matter, could become important. Near the edge of the market, two peasants are arguing, voices raised. This is improper, disturbing the peace. Kenshin stops, approaches. Both men fall silent, bow deeply, fear in their eyes. A samurai has authority, immediate authority, to settle disputes, to punish, even to kill, if the offense warrants. Explain, Kenshin says. Simply, quietly. The men stumble over words, both talking at once. A boundary dispute, a fence moved, a field encroached upon. Common issues, stupid issues, but important to them. Their livelihood depends on every foot of land. Kenshin listens, asks a few questions. The facts become clear. One man is in the wrong, moved his fence, deliberately trying to steal land. Not much, a few feet, but theft nonetheless. Move the fence back, Kenshin says, to the guilty man. Today. The man bows. Yes, honored samurai. If this happens again. Kenshin's hand rests on his sword hilt. Not threateningly, just reminding of consequences. It will not, honored samurai. The men bow again. Deeper. Grateful for fair judgment. Grateful no punishment followed. They hurry away. This is how order is maintained. Not through written law. Not through courts and judges. But through direct authority. Through the presence of samurai. Through their decisions. Their judgments. Their power. Kenshin continues his walk. Leaves the market. Climbs toward the castle district. The streets here are different. Wider. Cleaner. Lined with samurai residences. According to rank. The higher the rank, the closer to the castle. The larger the compound. Kenshin's house is modest but respectable. A walled compound, with a small garden, a few rooms, enough for his family, his wife, his 2 children, 1 servant. He enters through the gate. His wife greets him, not warmly, not coldly, with proper formality. Even here, in their private space, forms must be observed. Her name is Sachi. They were married 8 years ago, an arranged marriage. Of course, samurai do not marry for love. They marry for alliance, for duty, for family advantage. Sachi came from another samurai family, minor like his own. The marriage strengthened ties between their lords, between their houses. This is how it works. Personal preference, personal desire, these are irrelevant, or should be. In practice, Kenshin and Sachi have developed affection, respect, partnership. This is more than many have, more than they expected. They are fortunate. She tells him of the household accounts, money spent, money needed, a servant's wages, repairs to the roof, new sandals for their son. He listens, nods, makes decisions. This is his responsibility. The household is his domain, just as the broader domain is his lord's. Hierarchy, authority, responsibility. These structures repeat at every level, from the shogun in Edo down to the lowest samurai, managing his tiny household. His son appears, 11 years old, already training in the family profession, already a samurai, by birth if not yet by skill. He bows to his father, formal, correct. Even here, even with family, forms must be maintained. How were your lessons? Kenshin asks. I practiced the sword forms, his son replies, for 2 hours. And your writing? A slight hesitation. Also 2 hours, father. Kenshin suspects. The writing was less. Boys prefer swords to brushes. This is natural, but both are necessary. A samurai must write, must read, must understand documents, must compose poetry, must be cultured. Not just a fighter, but a gentleman. Show me your calligraphy, Kenshin says. His son fetches it. The characters are adequate, not exceptional, but adequate. For an 11-year-old. Better, Kenshin says. But you must practice more. Yes, father. The boy bows. Returns to his studies. Kenshin's daughter is younger. 8 years old. She will not train as a warrior, obviously, but she will learn the accomplishments expected of a samurai woman: poetry, tea ceremony, flower arrangement, music, and also self-defense. The naginata, a curved blade, on a long pole. Women train with this, not to fight in war, but to defend the home when the men are away, to protect children, to die honorably, if necessary. The afternoon passes. Kenshin handles correspondence, reports to send to his lord's administrators, accounts to keep, of rice collected, of taxes paid, of disputes settled. This is most of his work, not fighting, not adventure, but paperwork, administration, the mundane business of governance. Some samurai find this boring, degrading even. They long for war, for battle, for the chance to prove themselves. Kenshin is wiser. He has fought twice in border skirmishes. He has killed men, seen friends die. He knows war's reality, and he prefers the paperwork. As evening approaches, he goes to the garden, his small garden, just a few trees, some stones, a small pond, but carefully arranged. This is his sanctuary. Here he can think, can practice calligraphy, can compose poetry, can be more than a warrior, a killer, an administrator, can be a human being who appreciates beauty, who finds meaning in simple things, the way light filters through leaves, the sound of water over stones, the perfect placement of a single rock. This is part of the code, the unwritten code that is forming in this era that will be called centuries later Bushido, the way of the warrior. It is not just about fighting, about loyalty, about dying well. It is also about living well, about finding beauty, even in harsh lives, even in violent times, about maintaining humanity, despite profession, despite duty, despite death. Kenshin writes a poem about cherry blossoms. This is traditional, almost cliché. Samurai writing about cherry blossoms, but there is meaning here. Cherry blossoms are beautiful. For such a short time, they bloom brilliantly, then fall. At the height of beauty, this is the samurai ideal, to live brilliantly, to die at the peak, before age, before weakness, before dishonor, to fall like the blossoms. Beautiful, complete, perfect. The poem is not very good. Kenshin knows this. He is not a great poet, but that is not the point. The point is the attempt, the contemplation, the moment of beauty. Before darkness, his wife calls him for the evening meal. They eat together. The family, rice, vegetables, miso soup, a little fish, simple food, but sufficient. They eat in silence. This is proper. Conversation at meals is not the custom. Food is treated seriously, with respect, not mixed with chatter. After eating, the children are dismissed to their studies, their practice, their sleep. Kenshin and Sachi sit together in the quiet. This is their time, brief, precious, when formality can soften slightly, when they can talk as partners, not just roles. She tells him about the neighbors. A new family moved in, a samurai transferred from another domain. This is interesting. Transfers are common, but also sensitive. A samurai's loyalty is to his lord, but also to his domain. A transfer means new loyalties, new connections, sometimes divided loyalties. This can be dangerous. We should visit, Kenshin says. Pay respects. Yes, Sachi agrees. This is expected. Samurai neighbors maintain connections, support each other. This network is important in a world where your lord's favor can shift, where political winds can change, where today's friend might be tomorrow's enemy. They talk about their son's progress, about their daughter's future, about the household needs, about life, the ordinary concerns that fill days, that make up existence, that continue between the dramatic moments that history remembers. Finally, they sleep in separate rooms. This is the custom. For samurai of their rank. Not poverty, not estrangement, just formality. Just the proper way. Kenshin lies on his mat, listening to the night, the sound of wind, the creak of wood. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks. He thinks about his day. Ordinary, unremarkable, no battles fought, no great deeds, no moments of glory, just life. The real life of a samurai. Not what stories tell, not what legends describe, but the reality of duty, of administration, of family, of maintaining order. In a small corner of a troubled world, tomorrow will be much the same, and the day after, and the day after that, an endless succession of ordinary days, until they are interrupted by war, by death, by change. But for now, there is peace, relative peace, fragile peace, and in that peace, life continues. Kenshin sleeps. The castle town sleeps. The darkness settles over Japan, over the samurai, over the endless cycle of duty and service that defines them. Morning comes again, as it always does. Kenshin wakes before dawn. This is habit, discipline. He dresses, goes to the garden, practices sword forms, slow movements. In the pre-dawn dark, the blade invisible, in the darkness. But his body knows where it is, knows where it should be. Muscle memory. From years of practice, from thousands of repetitions. The forms are meditation, not really combat training, not anymore. He has internalized these movements. They are part of him now, as natural as breathing. The practice is about maintaining connection to his training, to his teacher, to the lineage of warriors before him. It is about discipline, starting each day with control, with focus, with readiness, even though he may never draw this blade in true combat again, even though it may rest in its sheath for years, decades, his entire life. The practice continues because this is who he is, what he is, a samurai, not just a profession, not just a job, but an identity, a way of being that permeates every moment, every action, every choice. The sun begins to rise. Kenshin sheaths his sword, bows to the east, where his ancestors rest, where the sun rises, where life begins. He goes inside, to breakfast, to family, to the duties of another day. His wife is already awake, preparing food. This is her domain, her responsibility. As his is defense, administration, service to the Lord. They work together, in parallel, each fulfilling their role, in the household, in society, in the great structure that keeps order. In Japan, their children wake. The morning routine begins, washing, dressing, eating, preparing for lessons, all done properly, with correct form, nothing casual, nothing rushed. Even in private, even with family, the forms must be maintained. This is not rigidity, not meaningless ritual. This is structure, this is meaning. This is how they maintain civilization in a world that can collapse into violence at any moment. The structure holds, the forms maintain, the order continues. And in that order, in that structure, life is possible, safety is possible, even happiness, within limits, within roles, within the way things are and must be. Kenshin finishes breakfast, prepares for the day, more administration, more accounts, more reports, and perhaps, if there is time, a visit to the new neighbor. Courtesy, respect, building connections. That might matter someday. This is the samurai way, always thinking ahead, always maintaining relationships, always aware that today's peace is tomorrow's uncertainty, that friends are necessary, that allies are essential, that no one survives alone. He leaves the house, walks through the morning. The town is waking, shops opening, people starting their work, everyone in their place, everyone knowing their role. Farmer, merchant, artisan, samurai, each contributing, each necessary, each part of the social order that makes civilization possible. It is not perfect, this system. It is not fair, not by modern standards, but it works. It provides stability. It prevents chaos. It allows life to continue. And for the samurai, it provides purpose, meaning, a place in the world, a reason to exist, beyond mere survival. Kenshin reaches the castle, passes through the gates, climbs to the administrative offices, where he will spend most of his day, with documents, with accounts, with the mundane business of governance. This is his service. This is his duty. This is his life. Not glorious, not dramatic, but necessary. And in its own way, honorable. He settles at his desk, picks up his brush, begins to write. Another day. Another ordinary day. In the life of a samurai. The training ground is quiet. Before dawn, in the castle town of Hikone. The year is 1615. The summer war has just ended. Osaka Castle has fallen. The Toyotomi clan destroyed. The Tokugawa shogunate is now unchallenged. But training continues. War may be over for now, but warriors must remain warriors, must maintain their skills, must pass knowledge to the next generation. A boy stands in the center of the practice yard. 12 years old. His name is Watanabe Akiro, son of a samurai, grandson of a samurai, descendant of warriors, going back centuries. He holds a wooden sword, a bakken, heavier than it looks. His arms already ache, but he does not lower it, does not complain. He has been holding this position for half an hour. The Chuden stance, middle guard, sword held before him, point level with the throat of an imaginary opponent. His teacher watches. From the edge of the yard, an old samurai, 70 years old, too old to fight now, but not too old to teach, not too old to remember. Every lesson, learned in blood, over 50 years of warfare. His name is Tekta Munayoshi. He served 3 lords, fought in 20 battles, killed more men than he can remember, lost more friends than he cares to count. Now he teaches, passes on knowledge, so the young ones might survive what he survived, or die well, if they cannot. He says nothing, just watches. As the boy trembles, as fatigue builds, as muscles burn. This is the first lesson, not technique, not strategy, but endurance, discipline, the ability to continue when everything screams to stop. This is what saves lives in battle. When you are exhausted, when you are wounded, when you want to collapse, the discipline remains. The training holds. The body continues, even when the mind begs to quit. Finally, after 40 minutes, Munayoshi speaks. Lower your sword. The boy does, gratefully. His arms shake, sweat runs down his face, despite the cool morning. Do you know why I made you hold that position? Munayoshi asks. To build strength, master, the boy replies. No, Munayoshi says. Strength comes from practice. This was about will, about learning that your body can endure more than your mind believes. Remember this, in battle, when you are tired, when you are afraid, when you want to run, your body can continue, if your will is strong. The boy bows. Yes, master. Other students arrive. As the sun rises, 10 boys, all between 12 and 16, all sons of samurai, all learning the family profession. They line up, bow to their teacher, bow to each other. The formalities complete. Training begins. They start with basics, always the basics. Even advanced students begin with fundamentals, the cuts, overhead, diagonal, horizontal, upward. Each one practiced hundreds of times, thousands of times, until the movement is perfect, is effortless, is instinctive. Munayoshi walks among them, correcting a foot out of position, a shoulder too high, a grip too tight. Every detail matters. Every small error, in practice, becomes a fatal mistake. In combat, your enemy will not care. He tells them that you are tired, that your form was almost correct, that you tried hard. He will care only that you left an opening, that he can kill you, and he will, if you allow it. This is the reality. He teaches, not sport, not exercise, not performance, but survival. The techniques exist for one purpose, to kill. Before being killed, everything else is secondary. After an hour of basics, they pair off for kata, prearranged forms. One attacks, the other defends. Back and forth, the movements are specific, precise, choreographed. This is how technique is learned. Through repetition, through muscle memory, through the body absorbing what the mind teaches. The forms contain wisdom, generations of experience, distilled into movements that have proven effective. In actual combat, a student must learn them exactly, without variation, without creativity. Later, much later, when the forms are internalized, when the body knows them without thinking, then innovation can come, then personal style emerges. But first, the foundations, the traditions, the proven methods. Ikiro is paired with an older boy, 15 years old, 3 years of training. The older boy attacks, Ikiro defends, according to the kata, but his timing is off. His block comes too late. The wooden sword strikes his ribs hard. Pain shoots through his side. He gasps, stumbles. Again, Manayoshi says, not unkindly, but firmly. They reset. The attack comes. Again, Ichiro's block is late. Again the strike lands. This time his shoulder. He grits his teeth. Does not cry out. Again. Over and over. Each time the wooden sword finds him. Bruises forming. Body aching. But slowly, very slowly, his timing improves. His body learns to read the attack, to respond faster. Finally, on the 20th attempt, his block works. The wooden swords meet. With a sharp crack, the attack is turned aside. Better, Manayoshi says, but not good enough yet. Again, this is how samurai learn. Through pain, through repetition, through failure, until failure becomes success, until success becomes habit, until habit becomes instinct. There are no shortcuts, no easy methods, just hours, days, years of practice. The morning wears on. The sun climbs higher. The temperature rises. The students sweat. Their movements grow tired, sloppy. This is when Manayoshi pushes harder, because this is when the real training happens. Anyone can perform well, when fresh, when rested, when comfortable. But battle is not comfortable. Battle is exhaustion, is fear, is confusion. Training must prepare for that, must push beyond comfort, beyond easy limits, into the place where true strength is forged. At midday, they stop for rest, rice balls, water, a brief respite. The students collapse. In the shade, too tired to speak, Manayoshi sits apart, watching them, remembering when he was that age, learning the same lessons, under a different master, in a different time. His master was harder, more demanding, more violent, beat students who failed, punished mistakes severely. That was the old way, the way of constant warfare, when training had to be brutal, because battle was worse. Now times are changing. The wars are ending. Peace is coming. Manayoshi can feel it. The training must change too, become less about survival, more about discipline, about maintaining tradition, about preserving knowledge that may no longer be needed, but must not be lost. He looks at these boys, wonders how many will ever fight in real combat. Probably none. If Tokugawa's peace holds, they will be administrators, like most samurai now, pushing papers, collecting taxes, never drawing their swords, except in practice. Is this good or bad? He does not know. Part of him is glad they might not see the horrors he has seen, the friends dying, the screaming wounded, the aftermath of battle, when you walk among the dead, and wonder why you survived, when better men did not. But part of him worries that something essential will be lost, that samurai who never fight are not truly samurai, that the peace will make them soft, weak, unprepared, for when war comes again, as it always does, eventually. He sighs, stands, back to training he calls. The students groan, but rise, obediently. This is discipline too, following orders, even when exhausted, even when every muscle aches. The afternoon session focuses on archery, the bow, the yumi. This is the traditional weapon, the original samurai skill. Before swords became symbolic, before katana defined the class, the bow was everything. Mounted archery especially. Yabasame. Shooting from horseback. At full gallop. This was the highest art. But horses are expensive. These students have none. So they practice standing. Shooting at targets. From varying distances. The bow is long. taller than most of the students, asymmetric, the grip below center, unique to Japan. Drawing it requires strength, technique, perfect form. Ikiro struggles. His arms are already tired from the morning sword work. The bow feels impossibly heavy. He can barely draw it. Full draw. His arrow wobbles, falls short of the target by 10 paces. Your breathing is wrong, Maniyoshi says, appearing beside him. You are fighting the bow. The bow is not your enemy. Work with it, not against it. He demonstrates, taking the bow, his old arms still strong, still capable. The draw looks effortless, smooth, inevitable. The arrow flies, strikes the target, dead center, 70 paces away. See, he says, not strength, technique. Ikiro tries again, focuses on his breathing, on smoothness, on working with the bow. The arrow flies, still falls short, but closer now, better. Progress, Manayoshi says. This is high praise from him. He rarely compliments, rarely encourages. The work should be its own reward, improvement, its own motivation. The students shoot for 2 hours, arrow after arrow. Some hit, most miss. This is expected. Archery takes years to master. These boys are beginners, will be beginners for a long time yet, but the practice continues. Because this is the way, because this is tradition, because a samurai must know the bow, even if he never uses it in actual combat. As the afternoon wanes, they move to a different skill, jujutsu, unarmed combat. This is essential, because weapons can be lost, can break, can be unavailable. A samurai must be able to fight, with anything, with nothing, with his bare hands, if necessary. The techniques are practical, not elegant. Throws, locks, strikes to vital points, designed to disable quickly, to create opportunity, to escape, or to kill, with minimum movement. Ikiro is paired again with the older boy. They practice a throw, using the opponent's momentum against him. The older boy attacks. Ikiro attempts the technique, fails, ends up on the ground, the older boy on top of him. In a real fight, he would be dead now. A knife to the throat. It would be over. Again, Maniyoshi says. They reset. Again Ikiro fails. Again he ends up in a position where he would die. This is frustrating, humiliating. He can feel his face burning, can feel the shame of repeated failure. But this is part of training too. Learning to fail, learning to endure shame, learning to continue, despite humiliation. Because in real combat, there is no shame, only survival or death. After a dozen failures, something clicks. Ikiro feels the older boy's weight, shifting, feels the moment. Where balance is vulnerable, he moves. The technique works. Suddenly the older boy is flying through the air, lands hard, on his back. Ikiro stands over him, in the dominant position, for the first time. Good, Manayoshi says. Now you are learning, not the technique itself, but the feeling, the timing. This cannot be taught, only discovered, through practice, through failure, through persistence. This is the deeper lesson. In all samurai training, techniques can be shown, can be explained, can be demonstrated, but true skill, true mastery, comes from within, from the student's own discovery, from hours of practice, from the body learning. What the mind cannot teach, the teacher can guide, can correct, can provide opportunity, but the learning itself must come from the student, must be earned, through sweat, through pain, through dedication. Finally, as the sun begins to set, Manayoshi calls an end. The students are exhausted, bruised, aching, but they have learned, not just techniques, but something deep about themselves, about their limits, about pushing past those limits. They bow to their teacher, deeply, gratefully. He has given them more than skills. He has given them a path, a way forward, a method to become what they must be. They disperse to their homes, to their families, to rice and rest. Ikiro walks slowly. His body protests every movement, new bruises making themselves known, but he feels satisfied, complete. He has worked hard, has failed often, has succeeded occasionally, has learned. This is enough for one day. At home, his father waits. Also a samurai. also trained by Minamoto 20 years ago. How was training? He asks. Difficult, Akira replies. Good, his father says. If it was easy, you would learn nothing. They eat together. Rice, vegetables, fish, simple food, but welcome. After the day's exertion, his father tells him about his own training. The stories Akira has heard many times before, but never tires of. About the time his father faced a real duel, age 17, against another samurai who had insulted their lord. The fear beforehand, the clarity during, the emptiness after, when the other man lay dead, and his father stood, victorious, but not proud, just empty, and tired, and wondering if it had to happen. These stories are lessons too, teaching that combat is not glory, not adventure, but necessity, sometimes tragic necessity, that takes lives, changes lives, leaves scars that never fully heal. Master Minamoto said. Akira begins, tells his father about the day's lessons, the failures, the small success. His father listens, nods. Minamoto is a great teacher, he says. Learn everything he offers. One day, sooner than you think, he will be gone, and his knowledge will be gone, unless students like you preserve it, remember it, pass it forward. This is the chain of tradition, of transmission, knowledge flowing from generation to generation, teacher to student, student becoming teacher, the cycle continuing, preserving what must not be lost, even as the world changes, even as peace comes, even as samurai become something different than they were. That night, Akira sleeps deeply, dreamlessly, the sleep of exhaustion, of honest work, of a day well spent. Tomorrow will bring more training, more pain, more lessons, and he will welcome it, because this is his path, his purpose, his becoming. Morning comes again, cold, dark. Akira wakes, his body stiff, protesting movement, but he rises anyway, dresses, eats quickly, walks to the training ground. Already there are students, earlier than required, practicing on their own. This is dedication. This is the difference between adequate students and exceptional ones. The exceptional ones practice beyond requirements, beyond what is demanded, because they want to, because they need to, because something drives them, deeper than obligation. Akira joins them, takes up a bokken, begins the basic cuts, overhead, diagonal, horizontal, the movements he practiced yesterday, will practice tomorrow, will practice for years, until they are perfect, or as close to perfect as a human can achieve. The sun rises. Minamoto arrives, sees the students already practicing, says nothing, but approves. This is what he hopes for. Students who need no pushing, who train themselves, who take responsibility for their own development. The formal training begins. Today the focus is different. Spear work. The yari. This is a primary battlefield weapon. Longer reach than a sword. More effective in formation. Better against mounted opponents. The spear is simple. A long shaft. A blade on the end. But using it well is not simple at all. Footwork is crucial. Balance essential. Timing everything. The students practice thrusts against wooden targets, wrapped in straw. The spear must penetrate deeply, then be withdrawn quickly. A spear stuck in an enemy is a dead warrior. In seconds, as the next enemy strikes, thrust and recover. Minamoto instructs. One motion, not two. The withdrawal begins before the thrust completes. Continuous movement, never static, never stopped. The students try. Most fail to understand. Their movements are choppy, separate actions. Thrust, pause, withdraw. This would be fatal. In real combat, Minamoto demonstrates his old body moving with surprising speed. The spear flows like water, thrust and recovery. A single continuous motion, beautiful in its efficiency, deadly in its purpose. See, he says, this is what you seek, not separate techniques, but flowing movement, where everything connects, where there are no gaps, no pauses, no opportunities for the enemy. The students practice. Hours pass, slowly, very slowly. Some begin to understand, to feel the flow, to connect the movements. Akira is one of them. His spear begins to move. More smoothly. More naturally. Still not perfect. Not even close. But better. Improving. This is all that matters. Constant improvement. Incremental progress. Over time. This is how mastery develops. Not in sudden breakthroughs, but in small gains, accumulated over years. At midday, a visitor arrives, another samurai, older, battle-scarred. He speaks with Munayoshi, privately. The students wait, curious, nervous. Visitors during training are unusual. Finally, Munayoshi addresses them. "This is Hayashi-sama," he says. "He served in the summer campaign at Osaka. He has agreed to speak with you about real combat. Listen carefully. Ask questions respectfully." Hayashi steps forward, looks at the young faces, remembers being their age, remembers the innocence. Before battle. "What do you want to know?" he asks. Silence. The students are unsure what to ask. Finally, Akiro speaks. "Is it like training, honored sir?" Hayashi laughs, bitterly. "No," he says, "not at all. Training is ordered. Predictable. Safe. Battle is chaos. Unpredictable. Terrifying." He pauses, considers, continues. "In training, you know what comes next. You know your opponent's moves. You know the forms. In battle, you know nothing. Your opponent does not follow forms. He does not care about proper technique. He wants only to kill you. By any means. And you want the same. Everything you learned becomes instinct. Or becomes useless. There is no time to think. To remember techniques. To consider options. You react. Your body moves. Without conscious thought. And you pray that your training was sufficient. That your reactions are correct. That you survive. The next moment, the students listen. Transfixed. This is reality. Unvarnished. Honest. Not the glory stories. But the truth. "I fought at Osaka," Hayashi continues. "For 3 days. Constant combat. No sleep. Little food. Just fighting. Dying. Trying not to die. I saw friends killed. Men I trained with. Men better than me. Stronger. Faster. More skilled. Dead. And I survived. Not because I was better. But because I was lucky. An arrow missed me by inches. A spear thrust went wide. An enemy slipped in blood. Luck. That is what saves you. Or kills you. More than skill. More than training. Luck." This is hard to hear. For young warriors. Who believe that skill matters. That training guarantees survival. That they can control outcomes. Through preparation. Through discipline. But Hayashi is telling them the truth that they need to hear. Even if they cannot accept it. "Not yet. Does that mean training is worthless?" Another student asks. "No," Hayashi says firmly. "Training gives you a chance. Without it, you have no chance. With it, you might survive, you might not, but at least, you have a chance. And in battle, a chance is everything." He tells them more about the siege, the desperate fighting, the fire, the smoke, the screaming, the confusion, about killing men, up close, seeing their faces, hearing their last words, about the emptiness after, when the fighting stops, and you realize you are still alive, and do not know why, or how to feel about it. The students are silent, processing. This is not what they expected. Not what stories tell them. Not what they imagined. War is supposed to be glorious, honorable, meaningful. But Hayashi describes chaos, horror, randomness. "And yet, would you do it again?" Ikiro asks. Hayashi considers. "If my lord commanded," he says, "yes, without hesitation, not because I want to, but because that is my duty. That is what it means to be samurai. Not glory, not adventure, but duty, even when it leads to death. Especially then. This is the core of the samurai code. Forming now. In this era, loyalty above all, duty above life, service above self. These principles will be refined, will be codified, will become Bushido, but they exist already. In men like Hayashi, who fight not for glory, but because they must, because their lord requires it, because this is who they are." Hayashi finishes, bows to Munayoshi, to the students, departs, leaving silence. The students are thoughtful, subdued. Training continues, but differently now, more serious, more focused. They have heard what awaits them. What their training prepares them for. Not glory, but survival in horror, in the randomness of battle, where luck matters, more than skill, but where skill gives you a chance, and a chance is everything. The afternoon passes, more spear work, more corrections, more practice. But the energy has changed. The students understand now, more clearly, why they train, why it matters, why every detail, every correction, every repetition could be the difference between life and death. Manayoshi notices the change, approves. This is what they needed, to hear truth from someone who has lived it. Not from an old teacher, but from a warrior, fresh from battle, still carrying the weight of what he has seen, what he has done. As evening approaches, Manayoshi gathers them for the final lesson of the day, not a physical technique, but a philosophical one. You have heard today, he says, what battle is really like. You have heard that luck matters, that death is random, that skill does not guarantee survival. This is all true, but it is not the whole truth. The whole truth is this: you cannot control outcomes. You cannot guarantee survival. You cannot prevent death when it comes for you. What you can control is how you meet it, with courage, with honor, with acceptance. This is why we train, not to prevent death, but to meet it well, when the time comes, to die like samurai, without regret, without shame, without fear. This is the highest skill, the ultimate technique, to face death and not flinch. The students listen. These words will stay with them, will shape them, will define how they understand their purpose, their training, their lives. They are learning to be samurai, not just warriors, but something more, men who live in the shadow of death and are not diminished, but elevated by that awareness. Training ends. The students depart. Akira walks home, slowly, thinking about everything he heard today, from Hayashi, from Manayoshi, about war, about death, about duty. It is heavy, this knowledge, this awareness, but it is also clarifying. He knows now what he is training for, not glory, not adventure, but the chance to serve his Lord, to meet death well, when it comes, to die like a samurai. This will sustain him through the hard days ahead, through the years of training, through whatever comes, because he understands now his purpose, his path, his destiny, as a warrior, in a warrior class, in an age that is slowly ending, but not yet, not quite yet. There is still time to learn, to prepare, to become what he must be, and so he will train tomorrow and the day after, and every day, until he is ready, or until death comes, whichever happens first. This is the way, the warrior's path, the samurai life, and he walks it, willingly, knowingly, without regret, into the gathering darkness, toward an uncertain future, but with purpose, with meaning, with honor, always honor. The training continues. Through seasons, through years, Ikiro grows, becomes stronger, more skilled, more confident, but also more aware of how much he does not know, of how far he has to go. This is the paradox of mastery. The more you learn, the more you realize how much remains to be learned. He is 15 now. 3 years of training. No longer the youngest, no longer the weakest, but still a student, still learning, still far from mastery. New students arrive, younger boys, 12 years old, just beginning. As he did, now he is senior, helps teach the basics, corrects their form, demonstrates techniques. This is part of learning too. Teaching others refines your own understanding, reveals gaps, shows what you know, and what you only think you know. The new students look at him with respect, with envy. He is what they hope to become. In 3 years, competent, confident, capable. He remembers being them, looking at the senior students, with the same eyes, the same hope, the same determination. Time moves differently now. The days blend together. Training becomes routine, but not easy. Never easy. Manayoshi ensures that. Always pushing, always demanding more, always finding weaknesses to address, areas to improve. One day, a different lesson. Manayoshi brings them to the castle prison, where criminals are held. waiting execution. Today, he says, you will witness what your swords are for. They enter the prison yard. A condemned man kneels, hands bound, head bowed. A criminal, a murderer. He killed a merchant for money. The sentence is death by beheading. A samurai will perform the execution. One of Muneyoshi's former students, now a castle guard. The students watch, nervous, uncertain. They have never seen a real execution, never seen death. Up close, the condemned man is praying, quietly, accepting his fate. The executioner steps forward, draws his katana. The blade gleams. In the sunlight, he takes position, behind the condemned man, raises the sword, holds it, breathing, centering himself. Then the cut, one smooth motion. The head separates, falls. The body remains upright for a moment, then collapses. Blood pools, spreading across the ground. Some students look away, others cannot, transfixed by the reality of what they train for. This is what the sword does. Not practice cuts, not target strikes, but this, ending life, immediately. Finally, the executioner cleans his blade, sheathes it, walks away, his duty complete. Muneyoshi turns to his students. This is what you must accept, he says. The sword is not a symbol, not decoration. It is a tool for killing. If you cannot accept this, if you cannot do this, when required, then you should not be samurai. Find another path. None of the students speak. They are processing the reality, the finality, the responsibility of the weapon they carry, that they will carry for the rest of their lives. They return to training, subdued, thoughtful. The practice takes on new meaning, new weight. They are not just learning techniques, they are learning to kill, to take life, when required, by duty, by law, by their lord's command. This is part of being samurai, the darkest part, the part no one speaks of in polite conversation, but it is real, it is necessary, it is what they are. Ikiro thinks about this for days, weeks. Can he do it? Can he kill when required? Not in battle, where emotion runs high, where survival drives action, but in cold blood, executing a criminal, or an enemy, or whoever his lord commands. He does not know, hopes he never has to find out, but knows he might. This is his path, his duty, his burden. As a samurai, the training continues, relentlessly. Seasons pass, summer heat, autumn rain, winter cold, spring renewal, and through it all, training, every day, without exception, building skills, building character, building the warrior spirit that will sustain them through whatever comes. Ikiro is 17 now, 5 years of training. He is competent in most weapons, excellent in none, but solid, reliable, capable. Muneyoshi tells him, you are ready for basic service. Your lord will find you a position, guard duty perhaps, or administrative work. This is how you begin your real life as a samurai. Training continues, always continues, but now you also serve. Now you contribute. Now you begin to repay your lord's investment in your education. This is a milestone, an important transition from pure student to serving samurai. The training continues, but differently now. More advanced techniques, more complex situations, more responsibility. Ikiro is assigned to guard duty at the castle gates, checking credentials, watching for threats, maintaining order. It is not exciting, not dangerous, not what he imagined as a child when he dreamed of being samurai, but it is service, it is duty, it is honorable work, and he does it well, with diligence, with dedication, with the discipline learned through years of hard training. The years pass. Ikiro grows into a man, a samurai, not exceptional, but capable, loyal, dedicated. He marries, has children, teaches them what he learned, passes on the knowledge, the traditions, the ways of the warrior. One day, many years later, he returns to the training ground. Muneyoshi is gone now, dead 3 years, but the training continues under a new master. One of Muneyoshi's students, continuing the tradition, passing knowledge forward. Ikiro watches the young students, practicing the same techniques he learned so many years ago, the same corrections, the same struggles, the same gradual improvement. Nothing has changed. Everything has changed. The techniques remain. The students are different, but the process, the path, the way, this continues, unbroken, from generation to generation. This is the true victory, not in battle, but in transmission, in preservation, in ensuring that what was learned through blood and sacrifice is not lost, is passed forward, lives on, in new students, new warriors, new samurai, who will train, as he trained, will serve, as he serves, will teach, as he will teach. The endless cycle of learning, serving, teaching. This is the warrior's path. Not just combat, not just duty, but preservation of knowledge, of tradition, of the samurai way. And as long as students train, as long as teachers teach, as long as the practice continues, the samurai live, not just as individuals, but as a tradition, a culture, a way of being that transcends any single life, any single generation, eternal, unchanging. The way of the warrior continues. The room is silent, except for breathing, deep, controlled, meditative. A samurai kneels, in formal position, seiza, back straight, hands resting on his thighs. Before him, on a low table, lies a tanto, a short blade, polished sharp, waiting. His name is Sato Nobuyuki, 42 years old, a retainer of the Asano clan, a loyal servant, for 20 years. Tonight, he will die, by his own hand, not because he wants to, but because honor demands it. His lord was insulted, at the shogun's court, drew his sword in anger, inside the palace. This is forbidden, absolutely forbidden. The penalty is death, and confiscation of lands, destruction of the clan. Lord Asano accepted his fate, performed seppuku, ritual suicide, with dignity, with honor, but his retainers, his samurai, were left masterless. Ronin, wave men, drifting without anchor, without purpose, without lord. For a samurai, this is worse than death. 47 of them made a pact to avenge their lord, to restore his honor, even though it meant their own deaths. They waited, planned, prepared, for 2 years, then struck, killing the man who insulted their lord, who caused his death, who destroyed their clan. They succeeded. The vendetta complete. Justice served. But now, they must pay the price. The shogunate ordered all 47 to commit seppuku for their illegal attack, for taking justice into their own hands. They accepted this willingly. They knew the cost before they began. This was always the only possible ending. Sato kneels in the temple where he will die. He has bathed, purified himself, dressed in white, the color of death, the color of purity. He has written letters to his family, short letters, because what can be said? I did my duty. I served my lord, even unto death. Remember me with honor, not with grief. His Kishakunin states. His second, a friend, who will end his suffering when the time comes. After the initial cut, the Kishakunin will strike, beheading him, finishing what he begins. This is mercy. This is friendship. This is honor. The Buddhist priest chants softly, prayers for the dead, for the dying, for passage to the next world. Incense smoke rises, fills the room with sacred scent. Sato breathes deeply, centering himself, preparing. He is not afraid. Not exactly. Fear is natural, fear of pain, fear of failure, fear of dishonoring himself in these final moments. But beneath the fear is certainty. This is right. This is necessary. This is the samurai way. He has lived with honor. He will die with honor. This is all that matters. He picks up the tanto, feels the weight, the balance, the sharpness. This blade will end his 42 years, will complete his service, will fulfill his duty. One final time, he places the blade against his abdomen, left side, just below the ribs. The cut must go from left to right, across the belly. This is the traditional way, the proper form. Even in death, form matters. Ritual matters. The correct way of doing things. He takes a breath, holds it, then cuts. Pain, incredible pain, worse than he imagined. fire spreading through his core, but he does not cry out, does not flinch, does not stop. He pulls the blade, across, left to right, completing the cut. His kaishakunin moves. The sword flashes, Sato's head falls, his body collapses. It is done. 47 men will die this way, over the next days, each one accepting the same fate, the same pain, the same honor. They are the 47 Ronin. Their story will be told for centuries as the ultimate example of samurai loyalty, of devotion to duty, of honor above life. This is the ideal, the standard against which all samurai will be measured. But this is the extreme, the exceptional case. Most samurai lives are less dramatic, less pure, more complicated. Honor exists in smaller moments, in daily choices, in the subtle navigation of complex social rules. The castle town of Sendai, morning 1650. Two samurai meet at the edge of town, both in formal dress, both armed, both pale, both terrified, but showing nothing, their faces masks of composure, of acceptance, of readiness. This is a duel, not by choice, but by necessity. One samurai accidentally step on the other's sword sheath. In a crowded street, a minor accident, unintentional, but the dishonor cannot be ignored. The samurai code, the emerging Bushido, demands satisfaction, demands that insults be answered with blood. They tried to avoid this. Mediation was attempted, apologies offered, compensation suggested. But the dishonored samurai could not accept, could not let it pass, without seeming weak, without losing face, without violating the code he lives by. And so, they stand here, at dawn, in an empty field, preparing to kill, or be killed, over nothing, over an accident, over honor. That strange concept, that rules samurai lives, that demands blood, for slights, for accidents, for words spoken, or unspoken. Honor is everything, and nothing, real and imagined, essential and absurd. Both men know this, both wish it could be different, but both are trapped by the code, by expectations, by the watching eyes of other samurai, who will judge them by how they conduct themselves. In this moment, they bow to each other, with respect, with regret, no anger between them, no hatred, just duty, just necessity, just honor, demanding its price. They draw their swords. The katana, the long blade, symbol of the samurai class, more than a weapon, an extension of the soul, of the spirit, of the honor, that now demands this fight. They approach, slowly, eyes locked, reading each other, looking for weakness, for opportunity, for the moment to strike. The first attack comes fast, a diagonal cut, aimed at the shoulder, blocked. The swords meet with a sharp ring that echoes across the empty field. They separate, circle, both breathing hard, from fear, not exertion, not yet. Another exchange, cut and counter, block and riposte. Neither gaining advantage. Both are skilled, both trained by good teachers. Both know that a single mistake means death. Minutes pass, feeling like hours. The fight continues, neither willing to press too aggressively. Aggression creates openings. Openings mean death. Better to wait, to defend, to let the opponent make the first mistake. But this creates stalemate. Two skilled fighters, both defensive, both cautious. The fight could last all day, until exhaustion determines the outcome. Then it happens. One samurai steps on uneven ground. His ankle turns slightly. His balance shifts, just for a moment. But a moment is enough. The other strikes. His blade finds flesh, cuts deep into the shoulder, into the chest. The wounded samurai falls, blood spreading, soaking into earth. The victor stands over him, breathing hard, sword ready for the finishing blow. But the wounded man raises his hand. Please, he says, let me finish myself. This is important, to die by his own hand, not executed, but choosing death, maintaining control, maintaining honor, even in defeat. The victor nods, steps back, allows this final dignity. The wounded samurai struggles to sit, pain evident, but face controlled. He draws his tanto, places it against his abdomen, cuts, slowly, Weakly, the wound has taken his strength. The cut is shallow, incomplete. He cannot finish. The victor steps forward. "Allow me," he says, raises his sword, brings it down, a clean cut, ending the suffering, ending the life, ending the duel. It is done. The victor cleans his blade, sheathes it, bows to the corpse, with respect, with sorrow, then walks away, to report, to the authorities, to his lord, to explain what happened, why it was necessary, why honor demanded this death, this waste, this tragedy, disguised as duty. The officials investigate, question witnesses, review the circumstances, their judgment. The duel was proper, conducted according to rules. No crime was committed. Just two samurai, settling a matter of honor. In the traditional way, the victor is cleared of all responsibility. But he carries the weight of having killed a man who did nothing but step on a sword sheath by accident. This is the burden of the samurai code, of honor that demands blood, of ritual that requires death, of a system that values appearance over substance, form over function, pride over reason. Not all matters of honor end in death. Sometimes they are resolved through other means, through ritual, through formality, through the complex dance of samurai etiquette. A tea ceremony in Kyoto 1680, a gathering of samurai from different clans, brought together by a powerful daimyo to discuss politics, to form alliances, to navigate the complex web of feudal relationships. But before politics, before business, before discussion, there is tea, the ceremony, the ritual, the formalized interaction that allows enemies to sit together without violence. The tea master, a samurai himself, but one who has chosen a different path, the path of aesthetics, of refinement, of peace. He prepares the room with perfect attention to every detail. The scroll in the alcove, chosen for the season, for the guests, for the meaning it will convey. The flowers, simple, understated, beautiful in their simplicity. The tea implements, each one selected for its qualities, for its history, for the harmony it brings to the gathering. The guests arrive, remove their swords. This is crucial. In the tea room, no weapons are allowed, not even the daisho, the two swords that define the samurai. They are left outside. This creates equality, creates safety, creates space, where rank is suspended, where conflict is impossible, where only the tea matters. They enter through the small door, Nijiri Guchai, so low that all must crawl. Daimyo and retainer, high rank and low, all equal, all humbled, in entering this sacred space. Inside, they kneel, in prescribed positions, the highest ranking, nearest the alcove, others according to status. But the differences are minimized, subtle. In the tea room, all are guests, all are equal, in appreciating the moment, the beauty, the peace. The tea master begins. Every movement is prescribed, traditional, meaningful. The cleaning of implements, not because they are dirty, but to show respect, to demonstrate care, to create anticipation. The scooping of powder, the pouring of water, the whisking of tea, all done with grace, with precision, with mindfulness. The guests watch, in silence, appreciating the skill, the beauty, the moment. This is meditation, this is art. This is the samurai, at peace, finding meaning in simple acts, in careful attention, in aesthetic appreciation. The tea is served first to the highest ranking guest, who receives the bowl with both hands, rotates it, admiring the glaze, the shape, the imperfections that make it unique. He drinks, not quickly, but savoring the taste, the warmth, the moment, then places the bowl on the mat, bows slightly, thanks the host. The next guest receives his tea. The ritual repeats, each man taking his time, appreciating, honoring the moment, the effort. The tea master's skill. Conversation is minimal, soft, focused on the tea, on the implements, on the scroll, on the flowers. Not on politics, not on conflict, not on the issues that divide them. This is sanctuary. From the world outside, from duty, from conflict, from the burden of being samurai. Here they are just men, appreciating beauty, finding peace in ritual, In form. In the careful attention to small things that create meaning. In difficult lives, the ceremony ends, the guests bow, thank the host, retrieve their swords, return to being who they are, samurai, with duties, with conflicts, with roles to play, but they carry the memory of peace, of beauty, of the moment when honor meant not blood, but appreciation, not violence, but harmony, not death, but life, lived well, even briefly. This too is honor, the honor of restraint, of self-control, of finding beauty, even in harsh times. This is part of Bushido, the developing code that will define samurai, not just warriors, but cultured men who can appreciate poetry, art, tea flowers, who can write with elegant brush strokes, who can compose haiku that capture a moment, a feeling, a truth. In 17 syllables, a samurai sits in his study, late evening, brush in hand, paper before him. He is composing a death poem. Jisi. Every samurai is expected to compose one, for when death comes, a final statement, a last expression of who they are, what they believe, how they face the inevitable end. He has been thinking about this poem for years, refining it, changing it, as he ages, as he learns, as he understands more about life, about death, about himself. The poem must be simple, traditional form, usually haiku, 575, 17 syllables, to contain a lifetime of meaning. He writes, cherry blossoms fall, even at the height of bloom. This too is the way he considers it, not quite right, too obvious, too conventional. Every samurai writes about cherry blossoms, about falling, about transience. It is cliché, even if true. He tries again. The sword rusts unused, but honor remains bright in the longest piece, better, more personal, reflecting his life. In an era of peace, when swords stay sheathed, when warriors become administrators, but honor remains the essential quality that defines them. He sets down the brush, looks at the characters, black on white, permanent now. These words will be his last. When death comes, someone will read them. At his funeral, they will be carved. On his memorial stone, they will be remembered by his descendants, long after he is forgotten. This is immortality, of a sort, not in the body, but in words, in the expression of a moment, of a life, of a philosophy, captured in ink. He is satisfied. The poem is ready. Now he can die. Whenever death comes, expected or sudden, in battle or in bed, he has prepared his final statement, his last honor. But death does not come, not tonight, not this year. He lives on, into old age, watching the world change, watching the samurai become something different than what they were. The code solidifies, gets written down, becomes official, becomes Bushido, the way of the warrior. 7 principles. Later scholars will say, those samurai themselves never counted, never formalized, just lived the principles without naming them. Rectitude. Doing what is right, not what is easy, not what is profitable, but what honor demands. Courage. Not just physical, but moral courage. To stand for principle, to speak truth, to accept consequences. Benevolence. Power used with compassion. Strength tempered by mercy. The strong protecting the weak, because they can, because they should. Respect. For all people, regardless of rank. Proper courtesy, proper behavior, proper treatment of everyone. Honesty. Truth in word and deed. A samurai's word is absolute, cannot be broken, cannot be questioned. A promise made is sacred. Honor, the crown of all virtues, the organizing principle that gives meaning to everything else. Without honor, all other virtues are worthless. Loyalty, to lord, to family, to clan, to duty, above all else, above life itself. These principles seem clear, seem simple, but in practice, they often conflict. What happens when honesty conflicts with loyalty? When benevolence conflicts with duty? When courage demands what honor forbids? These dilemmas define samurai lives, create the tragedy, the complexity, the impossible choices that make their stories compelling, human, real. A samurai faces Such a choice, his lord commands, an action that violates the samurai's conscience, an innocent man, to be executed for political convenience. The samurai knows this is wrong, unjust, dishonorable, but his lord commands it, and loyalty demands obedience. What does he do? This is the test of character, of principle, of what he truly believes. Some samurai would obey without question, loyalty above all. The Lord's will is absolute. Others would refuse, accept the consequences, death probably, but die with conscience clean. Most would struggle, would try to find a middle path, would argue, would plead, would try to change the Lord's mind, but ultimately would obey or would die. There is no easy answer, no correct choice, only impossible options, and the samurai must choose, must live with the choice, or die with it. This is the burden of the code of honor that demands perfection in an imperfect world, of principles that conflict when applied to reality, of ideals that break against the rocks, of human complexity. The tea ceremony ends, the study grows dark, the death poem is written, the choices are made, or avoided, or postponed. Life continues for the samurai in the space between the ideal and the real, between honor and survival, between duty and conscience. They navigate as best they can, trying to live up to impossible standards, failing often, succeeding sometimes, always aware that they are measured against perfection, against legends, against the 47 Ronin, who gave everything for loyalty, against the great swordsman, who never lost, against the perfect samurai, who exists only in imagination, in story, in the idealized past that never really was. But the stories matter, the ideals matter, even if unattainable. They provide direction, provide meaning, provide purpose, in lives that could easily become meaningless, become mere survival, become nothing more than service to power. The honor code, however impossible, however contradictory, elevates, transforms, makes samurai more than soldiers, more than servants, more than killers, makes them, in their own eyes, at least, something noble, something meaningful, something worth being, even if it costs everything, even if it demands the impossible, even if it leads to death, to tragedy, to the destruction of everything they love. They accept this, they choose this, they embrace this, because without honor, without the code, without the standards, however impossible, they are nothing, just men with swords, just servants of lords, just participants in a cruel system of power and violence. But with the code, with honor, with Bushido, they are samurai, warriors of principle, men of meaning, living and dying for something greater than themselves. This is the gift and the curse of the honor code. It gives meaning, but demands everything. It elevates, but destroys. It creates beauty, but requires blood. It makes life worth living, but often unlivable. This is the paradox at the heart of the samurai existence, and they embrace it willingly, knowingly, because this is who they are, what they are, all they can be, in the world they were born into. The ritual continues, the ceremonies persist, the codes are followed, or broken, or bent, or reinterpreted, but always they matter, always they define, always they shape the samurai life, from birth to death, from first sword lesson to final poem, from service to lord, to service to honor itself. This is the way, the warrior's path, narrow, difficult, often fatal, but walked with pride, with dignity, with the certain knowledge that however hard, however tragic, however brief, this life has meaning, this death has purpose, this existence matters. In the grand story of the samurai, of Japan, of honor itself. And so they continue, generation after generation, living the code, dying for the code, preserving the code, for those who come after, who will face the same impossible choices, the same tragic dilemmas, the same burden, and the same honor of being samurai in a world that demands perfection from imperfect men and judges them by impossible standards that they themselves created, embraced, and died for, willingly, honorably, inevitably. The candles burn low, the incense fades, the tea grows cold. But honor remains, constant, eternal, demanding. The price that samurai pay, without question, without hesitation, without regret. This is the way, the warrior's way, the path of honor that leads, always, to the same place, to death, faced calmly, accepted fully, welcomed even, as the final proof of a life lived with honor, a death died with dignity, a spirit that endures, beyond the body, beyond the moment, beyond death itself, in the memory of those who remain, who tell the stories, who preserve the honor, who continue the way, forever, or until the world changes so much that honor itself becomes obsolete, becomes archaic, becomes impossible to maintain. In a modern world that values different things, different virtues, different meanings, but that time has not yet come, not in this moment, not in this era, not for these samurai, who kneel, who bow, who cut, who die, for honor, always for honor, only for honor, the beginning, the middle, and the end of the samurai story, honor, absolute, uncompromising, eternal, or so they believe as they live, as they die, as they pass into legend, into memory, into the quiet darkness, where all warriors go when their time ends, and honor is all that remains. The night is moonless, perfect darkness. In the mountains of Iga province, the year is 1570, a figure moves through the forest, silent as death, invisible in black. This is not a samurai, not exactly. This is something else, something the samurai both need and despise. A shinobi, a ninja, one who endures, one who hides, one who operates in the shadows, where honor does not reach. His name is Hattori Takeo. Though he has many names, many identities, many faces, this is his profession, not warrior, but spy, assassin, infiltrator, scout, the work that samurai cannot do, will not do, because it violates the code of honor, the open combat, the direct confrontation that Bushido demands. But wars are not won only with honor. Sometimes victory requires deception, stealth, murder in darkness, information gathered secretly, enemies eliminated quietly, work that leaves no glory, no recognition, no honor, only results. Takeo moves through the night, toward a castle, a minor stronghold, held by an enemy of his employer. His mission is simple: gather information, count the garrison, identify weaknesses, report back. Simple, but dangerous. Discovery means death. Not honorable death, not seppuku, but execution, as a spy, as a criminal, tortured first, for information, then killed, displayed as warning. This is the risk. He accepts it. This is his life. He approaches the castle, stays in shadows, moves when guards look away, freezes when they turn. Patience is essential. Rush means discovery. Discovery means death. He waits, minutes feeling like hours, muscles cramping, but not moving, not even breathing, louder than necessary. Finally, the guard moves on. Takeo advances to the outer wall, stone and mortar, 15 feet high, smooth, difficult, but not impossible. He produces tools from hidden pockets, a rope with hooks, thin but strong. He throws it, softly. The hook catches. He tests the weight, holds. He climbs, hand over hand, moving up the wall, like a shadow, rising against stone. At the top, he pauses, listening. Footsteps, a guard approaching. He freezes, pressed against the wall. The guard passes, close enough to touch, but looking outward, not down, not seeing. The shadow, clinging to stone. Invisible, patient, deadly. The guard moves on. Takeo pulls himself up, over the wall, drops silently, into the courtyard. Inside now, the dangerous part. Inside there is no escape, no quick retreat, only deeper infiltration, or discovery and death. He moves along the wall, staying in darkness, counting buildings, noting positions, guard rotations, how many men, what weapons, where they sleep, where they store supplies. All the information his employer needs to plan an attack, to exploit weakness, to achieve victory through knowledge, rather than just strength. A door opens, light spills out. Takeo presses into shadow, Two samurai emerge, talking, complaining about duty, about the cold, about the boredom of garrison life. They pass within feet of where he hides, never seeing him, never knowing that death stands within arm's reach. He could kill them easily, a blade across the throat, before either could cry out. But that is not his mission. Not tonight. Tonight is information, not assassination. Murder would alert the castle, would change guard patterns, would make his employer suspicious that their security is compromised. Better to remain invisible, to gather information, to leave no trace of his presence. He continues through the courtyard, into the main keep. This is bold, dangerous, but necessary. The most important information is inside. He finds a window, partially open, slides through, into a corridor, dark, empty. He moves along it, testing each step, before putting weight down, avoiding creaking boards, loose stones, anything that might betray his presence. He hears voices from a room ahead, the Lord's chamber. He approaches, carefully, finds a gap in the sliding door, peers through. 3 men inside, the castle lord, 2 advisors, discussing strategy, talking about their defenses, their supplies, their weaknesses, everything Taekya needs. He listens, memorizing every word, every detail. This information is worth more than 100 spies, worth more than 1,000 soldiers. This is why Shinobi exist, why they are employed. Despite the dishonor, despite the contempt that samurai show them, results matter more than methods. Survival matters more than honor. Victory matters more than reputation. After an hour, the meeting ends. The men disperse. Taekyo retreats. Back through the corridor, out the window, across the courtyard, to the wall. The return is harder. The rope is on the outside. He must climb down, without tools, without support, using only small gaps in mortar, tiny ledges, strength and skill, and the absolute necessity of not falling, of not making noise, of remaining invisible. He climbs down, inch by inch, foot by foot, muscles screaming, fingers bleeding, but silent, always silent. He reaches the ground, melts into shadow, moves away from the castle, into the forest, into safety. The mission is complete. Information gathered, no alarm raised, no trace left. Perfect execution of the Shinobi art. He travels through the night, putting distance between himself and the castle. By dawn he is miles away, safe, invisible again, just another traveler, on the road. Nothing special, nothing memorable. This is the Shinobi way. Blend in, disappear, become nothing, become no one, until needed, until employed, until the mission calls. For skills that samurai do not have, cannot have, will not acknowledge, but desperately need. The village of Koga, nestled in mountains, is home to many shinobi, families that have practiced the secret arts for generations. They are not samurai, not officially. They are farmers, merchants, craftsmen, in appearance, but in reality, they are warriors of a different kind. Children here learn different skills than samurai children, not just sword and bow, but climbing, swimming, disguise, poisons, explosives, deception, all the arts of unconventional warfare, of intelligence gathering, of survival in hostile territory. A boy trains, 12 years old, his father teaching him how to move silently through dry leaves, an impossible task, or so it seems. The boy tries, crashes through, leaves rustling, announcing his presence. His father shakes his head. Again, he says, feel the ground, find the solid spots, move slowly, wait gradually, never rush. The boy tries again, and again, and again, slowly, over hours, over days. He learns to feel the ground, to place each foot perfectly, to move through leaves, almost silently. Not perfect, not yet, but better, always better. This is shinobi training, not dramatic, not exciting, just patient practice of practical skills that might save lives, that might complete missions, that might make the difference between success and failure, between survival and death. He learns other things too, how to pick locks with thin metal tools, feeling the mechanism, Understanding the pins, the springs, the moment when everything aligns and the lock opens. How to climb walls, using fingers and toes, finding tiny gaps, invisible to others, but sufficient for trained hands. How to hold his breath underwater for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, expanding lung capacity, slowing heartbeat, conserving oxygen. How to withstand pain through mental discipline, through focus, through acceptance. Pain is just sensation, can be endured, can be ignored, if the mind is trained. How to read people, their expressions, their body language, the tiny signals that reveal truth beneath words. All these skills and more are passed down in these villages, from parent to child, from master to student. The accumulated knowledge of generations of shinobi, who survived, who succeeded, who learned what works and what does not. But the world is changing, new threats emerging, new weapons appearing that will transform warfare, that will challenge both samurai and shinobi, that will make some skills obsolete while creating need for others. The year is 1543. A Portuguese ship arrives in Japan at the island of Tanegashima, carrying strange weapons, long tubes of metal that spit fire and lead, that kill from distance, without arrows, without skill, without years of training. Firearms, muskets, arquebuses. The Japanese see these weapons demonstrated, are amazed, terrified, intrigued. A local lord buys 2, gives them to his swordsmiths. Copy these, he commands. Learn to make them. Japan must have these weapons. The swordsmiths study the mechanisms, the metallurgy, the design. It is complex, different from swords, different from anything they have made before, but they are skilled, dedicated. Within months, they produce their first copies, crude, but functional. Within years, Japan is producing better firearms than Europe, improving the design, making them more reliable, more accurate, more deadly. This changes everything. A peasant with a gun can kill a samurai who trained his whole life, can kill from distance. Before the samurai can close to sword range, can kill without honor, without skill, without courage even, just point and shoot, and the proudest warrior falls like anyone else. This is devastating to the samurai ideal, to the notion that training matters, that skill determines victory, that honor has meaning. In combat, a gun does not care about honor, about training, about anything. It kills efficiently, democratically, making everyone equal. In death, the samurai resist. At first, these weapons are dishonorable, they say, not the way of true warriors, cowardly, beneath them, but practical lords. See the truth. Guns win battles. Honor does not. The Battle of Nagashino 1575 proves this conclusively. The Tekta clan, famous for cavalry, for samurai courage, for traditional warfare, attacks the forces of Oda Nobunaga and Tokugawa Ieyasu. The Tekta charge. Thousands of mounted samurai, the finest warriors in Japan, brave, skilled, confident. They charge into gunfire. 3,000 arquebusiers, firing in rotation. One rank shoots, steps back to reload. Next rank steps forward, shoots, steps back. Continuous fire, without pause, without gaps. The Tekta cavalry is slaughtered, cut down by bullets, horses and men, falling in waves, unable to close, unable to fight, unable to use their skill, their courage, their honor. The battle is massacre. The Tekta are destroyed, their military power broken forever, not by better warriors, but by better weapons, by guns, by the future, killing the past. After Nagashino, every lord wants guns, wants arquebusiers, wants to modernize. The samurai must adapt or become obsolete. Some learn to use firearms, reluctantly, seeing them as necessary, if dishonorable, tools. Others refuse, cling to swords, to bows, to traditional ways, but they become increasingly irrelevant. In a world where guns decide battles, the shinobi adapt more easily. They have no honor to protect, no traditions that forbid useful tools. They embrace firearms, use them in assassinations, in ambushes, in all the ways that guns excel: sudden violence, from concealment, from distance, without warning. A shinobi with a gun is even more dangerous than before, can kill from farther, can escape more easily, can complete missions that were previously impossible. But guns are loud. This is a problem for shinobi work, which relies on stealth, on silence, on remaining undetected. A gunshot announces your presence, alerts everyone within earshot. So shinobi continue to use traditional weapons. For many missions, the blade remains silent, reliable, effective. At close range, when silence matters more than distance, the integration of firearms into Japanese warfare happens remarkably quickly, faster than in Europe. Within 50 years, Japan has more guns than any European nation has mastered the production, the tactics, the employment of firearms in ways Europeans have not imagined. But then, something unexpected happens. The guns disappear, not immediately, not completely, but gradually, over the next century, as the Tokugawa shogunate consolidates power, establishes peace, begins to see firearms as threat to stability, to control. Guns in the hands of peasants could enable rebellion, could challenge the samurai monopoly on violence, could upset the social order. So production is restricted, ownership controlled, use limited to the government, to trusted retainers. Guns become rare, then rarer. By 1700, most samurai have never fired one, have returned to the sword, the bow, the traditional weapons, as if guns never existed. This is unique in world history, a society that adopts advanced weapons, then deliberately abandons them, choosing tradition over technology, choosing control over efficiency, choosing stability over military power. It works for a while. The Tokugawa peace lasts 200 years, without major war, without need for advanced weapons. The samurai return to being administrators, to practicing traditional arts, to perfecting swordsmanship that will never be used in actual combat. But when the peace ends, when foreign ships arrive, with modern weapons, with cannons, with rifles, far more advanced than anything Japan has, the decision to abandon guns proves catastrophic. Japan is defenseless against modern warfare, must modernize rapidly, must abandon samurai traditions, must embrace Western military methods, or be conquered. But that is later, in the future. For now, in the 1600s, the peace holds. The guns disappear, the samurai persist, the shinobi continue, in shadow, adapting, surviving, using whatever tools the situation requires. Takeo grows old, his son takes over the family profession, the endless cycle of secret missions, of dangerous work, of living in shadows. The techniques are refined, passed down, generation to generation. The Hattori family becomes famous among those who know the secret world of shinobi operations. Hattori Hanzo serves Tokugawa Ieyasu, becomes legendary for his skills, his loyalty, his effectiveness. He commands 200 shinobi, an elite unit, loyal to Tokugawa, performing missions that samurai cannot, gathering intelligence, conducting sabotage, eliminating threats quietly, efficiently, without honor, but with results. When Ieyasu becomes shogun, unifies Japan, ends the wars, Hattori Hanzo is rewarded, given lands, given status, made samurai. This is unusual. Shinobi rarely receive recognition, rarely rise above their station. But Hanzo's service was exceptional. His contribution to Tokugawa victory, undeniable. He accepts the honor, but continues to lead his shinobi, now serving the Tokugawa shogunate, not in war, but in peace, maintaining order, gathering information, watching for threats. To the new regime, the shinobi role shifts from military to police, from warriors to spies, from battlefield to city streets, watching, listening, reporting. They become the shogunate's eyes and ears, and occasionally, its knife in the dark, when threats must be eliminated, quietly, without trial, without publicity. just disappearance and fear. Among those who might oppose the Tokugawa order, this is the reality behind the peace, behind the stability, behind the long centuries of Tokugawa rule. Not just samurai honor, not just wise government, but also the shinobi in darkness, maintaining control through methods that history does not record, that official accounts do not mention, that honorable samurai do not acknowledge, but that everyone knows exists, operates, protects the peace
Through violence.
hidden, denied, but effective. The boy who learned to walk through leaves is old now, teaching his grandson
The same skills his father taught him. The art persists, even in peace, even when war seems forever banished.
because knowledge, once lost, cannot be recovered, and peace never lasts forever. The grandson learns climbing, swimming, disguise, all the traditional skills, but also new ones, urban surveillance, breaking into houses, moving through cities, gathering information from merchants, from servants, from pillow talk, the arts of intelligence, in peacetime, different from war, but still essential, still dangerous, still requiring the same dedication, the same skills, the same willingness to operate in shadow, without recognition, without honor, for the sake of the mission, the employer, the goal that justifies the means. The shinobi code is different from Bushido, less formal, less idealistic, more practical. Survive, complete the mission, serve the employer, protect your family, pass on knowledge, no grand principles, no philosophical depth, just practical wisdom for dangerous work. In a hostile world, where honor is luxury and survival is victory, this code serves them well. Through centuries, through wars, through peace, through the changes
that transformed Japan.
from feudal society to modern nation, the shinobi adapt because adaptation is their specialty.
Is their tradition, is how they survive. Bound by honor.
Bound by tradition, bound by rigid codes, cannot change, cannot adapt, cannot survive. The modern world, the guns return, eventually, when foreigners arrive, when Japan must modernize, when the old ways prove insufficient for the new challenges. But by then, the shinobi have already adapted, already changed, already become something new. Intelligence services, secret police, operatives. In a modern state, the samurai struggle with this transition, their honor, their code, their identity, tied to a world that no longer exists. They fight change, fight modernity, fight the future, and lose. Because history does not care about honor, about tradition, about the beauty of ancient ways. History moves forward, crushing those who cannot adapt, who will not change, who cling to past in face of future. But the shinobi survive, as they always have, by changing, by adapting, by doing what is necessary, not what is honorable, by embracing the new, while preserving the essential, the core skills that transcend any particular age. Observation, deception, intelligence, survival. These never become obsolete, never lose value, never stop being necessary in any society, in any age. And so the shinobi persist long after the samurai fade into history, into memory, into nostalgia, for a world that no longer exists. If it ever did, the shadow and the sword, the shinobi and samurai, existed together, in tension, in opposition, in reluctant partnership, for centuries. One in light, one in darkness, one honored, one despised, one celebrated, one hidden, but both necessary, both essential, both part of the complex reality of Japanese warfare, of feudal society, of human nature, that requires both honor and pragmatism, both idealism and realism, both the warrior who fights in daylight and the shadow who operates in dark, neither complete without the other, neither sufficient alone. Together, they made possible the samurai age, the feudal system, the wars, the peace, the transformation of Japan from warring states to unified nation to modern power. The sword alone could not do this. The shadow alone could not achieve this. But together, light and dark honor and pragmatism. Samurai and shinobi, they shaped history, created legends, built a world that endured for centuries, until finally, it too, passed away, into memory, into story, into the quiet darkness, where all ages go, when their time ends, and something new must begin. The gunpowder smoke clears, the shadows fade, the old ways dissolve into the past, into legend, into the stories we tell about honor, about shadow, about the samurai, and those who served them, from darkness, without recognition, without honor, but without whom the samurai themselves could not have existed, could not have persisted, could not have become the legends they are, in memory, in imagination, in the eternal present of story, where heroes never die, where honor never fades, where the sword never rusts, and the shadow remains, always watching, always present, always necessary, in the spaces between the light, where truth hides and history is made. The morning is quiet, too quiet. In the castle town of Aizu, the year is 1868, a samurai stands at his window, looking out over the town he has known his entire life. His name is Nakamura Shinsuke, 40 years old, a retainer of the Aizu domain. His family has served the Matsudera clan for 8 generations, 200 years of loyalty, of service, of honor. But now, everything is ending. The world is changing faster than anyone could have imagined. Just 15 years ago, American ships arrived, black ships with cannons that could destroy any Japanese fortress. From miles away, they demanded Japan open to trade, end its isolation, join the modern world. The shogunate, weak after centuries of peace, had no choice but to agree. This agreement, this surrender, without fighting, shattered something. In the samurai world, the shogun could not protect Japan, could not stand against foreign power, could not maintain the old order. If the shogun was weak, what did that mean for the samurai who served him, for the system built on his authority, for everything they believed and lived for? Some domains began to modernize, buying foreign weapons, training Western-style armies, abandoning samurai traditions for rifles, for cannons, for modern warfare. Other domains, like Aizu, remained loyal to the shogun, to tradition, to the old ways, even as those ways became obsolete, became dangerous, became fatal. Civil war came between modernizers and traditionalists, between those who embraced change and those who resisted it. The Boshin War, they called it, the War of the Year, of the Young Earth Dragon. 1868, the year the samurai world began to die. Aizu sided with the shogunate, with tradition, with loyalty, even though everyone knew the modernizers would win, had better weapons, better training, better strategy. But loyalty demanded this choice. Bushido demanded it, honor demanded it, even if it meant destruction, even if it meant death, even if it meant the end of everything they had known. Shinsuke looks out at the town. Soon the enemy will come, the imperial forces, armed with rifles, with cannons, with modern weapons. Aizu's forces still carry swords, still practice traditional warfare, still believe that courage and loyalty can overcome superior weapons. They are wrong. Shinsuke knows this. Everyone knows this. But they will fight anyway, because this is who they are, what they are. Samurai, warriors of a dying age, fighting for a lost cause, dying for honor, when honor itself has become obsolete, meaningless, tragic. His wife enters quietly. She knows what is coming. Everyone in Aizu knows. They say the enemy, she begins, will be here within days. Shinsuke nods, says nothing. What is there to say? She continues. The women are preparing. Her voice is steady, calm. She is samurai too, in her way, married into this class, accepting its duties, its burdens, its fate. Preparing for what? He asks, though he knows. To fight if necessary, she says. To die if required. This is the samurai way. Women as well as men. When the castle falls, when defeat is certain, rather than be captured, rather than be dishonored, they will die by their own hands. Mothers and daughters wives and sisters, choosing death over surrender, over shame. This has always been the code, but now it seems insane, pointless, a waste of lives, of futures, of everything. But the code demands it, tradition demands it, honor demands it, and they will obey, because that is what samurai do, even when it makes no sense, even when it serves no purpose, even when it destroys everything they love. The siege begins. 3 days later, imperial forces surround the castle. Thousands of soldiers, with modern rifles, with artillery, with tactics learned from Western advisors. Aizu's garrison is outnumbered, outgunned, outdated, but they fight with desperate courage, with traditional skill, with samurai spirit. It is not enough. The modern rifles cut them down. The artillery smashes their defenses. The Western tactics outmaneuver them at every turn. Courage cannot stop bullets. Honor cannot deflect shells. Loyalty cannot overcome superior firepower. The samurai learn what the Tekta learned at Nagashino 300 years ago, that weapons matter more than courage, that technology defeats tradition, that the future destroys the past. No matter how honorable, no matter how brave, no matter how right it seems, the defenses crumble day by day. The walls are breached, the outer compounds fall, the defenders retreat to the inner castle, then to the keep, then to the final rooms, where there is nowhere left to retreat. The women gather in the innermost chamber, young and old, mothers with daughters, grandmothers with granddaughters. They are calm, resigned. They have prepared for this moment all their lives. The samurai way demands that women die rather than surrender, rather than face dishonor. They help each other tie their kimonos so they will not fall open in death, so they will die with modesty, with dignity, with honor. Even in this, form matters, appearance matters, the proper way of doing things. They take daggers, dekikan, small blades, designed for this purpose, for Jiji, female ritual suicide. The cut is different than seppuku, not the abdomen, but the throat, severing the arteries. Quick death, if done correctly. The oldest woman goes first to show the way, to give courage to the younger ones. She kneels, composes herself, prays briefly, then cuts deep and sure, falls forward into death. The others follow, one by one, mothers and daughters, sisters and friends, choosing death over dishonor, over capture, over violation of their honor, their family honor, their class honor. 20 women die this way, in that room, their blood mixing on the floor, their lives ending together in final loyalty to the code that defined them, that demanded this, that killed them as surely as any enemy. In the castle, the last defenders make their stand, Shinsuke among them, 50 samurai against thousands. They know how this ends, but they fight anyway, with swords, against rifles, with courage, against firepower, with honor, against history. They die, one by one, cut down by bullets, by shells, by the future. Shinsuke falls, a bullet through his chest. He lies on the stone floor bleeding, dying. Around him, his friends, his fellow samurai, also dying, also bleeding, also ending. He thinks of his family, 8 generations of service, of loyalty, of honor, ending here, ending now, ending with him. Was it worth it? He wonders. This loyalty, this honor, this code that demanded everything and gave what in return? Death, destruction, the end of a world. He cannot answer, cannot know, can only die as he lived, as a samurai, loyal to the end. The castle falls. Aizu is defeated. The survivors are scattered. The domain is dissolved. The old order is broken forever. This scene repeats across Japan in the final years of samurai resistance. Other domains, other castles, other warriors, fighting the same, losing battle against modernity, against change, against the future. The Meiji Restoration, they call it, the return of power to the emperor, the end of the shogunate, the beginning of modern Japan. But for the samurai, it is the end of everything, their privileges, their purpose, their identity. The new government moves quickly to dismantle the samurai class. 1871. Domains are abolished. replaced with prefectures. Samurai lose their lands, their guaranteed income, their position. 1873. The draft is instituted. Peasants are conscripted, trained as soldiers. The samurai monopoly on military service is ended. 1876. The final blow, the sword abolishment edict. Heitere. Samurai are forbidden to wear swords in public. The daisho, the two swords that defined them for centuries, must be left at home, hidden, irrelevant. This is more than a law. This is the erasure of identity, the destruction of meaning, the end of what it meant to be samurai. Some accept this, adapt, become businessmen, politicians, teachers. They use their education, their discipline, their connections to succeed. In the new Japan, they survive by changing, by letting go of the past, by embracing the future. Others cannot accept, cannot adapt, cannot imagine being anything other than samurai. They resist. One last time. The Satsuma Rebellion. 1877, led by Seigo Takamori, a samurai hero, a leader of the Restoration, who helped create the new government, but now fights against it because it has betrayed the samurai, betrayed tradition, betrayed everything he believed in. 40,000 samurai join him. One final stand for the old ways, for honor, for the samurai class, against the new conscript army, peasants with rifles, led by former samurai who chose adaptation over resistance. The rebellion is crushed in 8 months of fighting. Modern weapons, modern tactics, modern army. Defeat courage, defeat skill, defeat honor. Once again, for the final time, Seigo Takamori, wounded, surrounded, commits seppuku on a hillside overlooking the battlefield. His Kishakunin beheads him, then buries the head so the enemy cannot display it, cannot dishonor the last great samurai. With his death, the samurai age truly ends. No more rebellions, no more resistance, just acceptance and adaptation, or extinction. An old samurai sits in his house in Tokyo. The year is 1880. He is 70 years old. He remembers a different world, when samurai ruled Japan, when honor mattered, when the code was law. Now he lives in a world he does not understand, does not recognize. Steam trains, telegraph wires, Western clothing, Western buildings, Western ideas. Japan is modernizing, rapidly, desperately, trying to become strong enough to resist Western colonization, trying to match Western power with Western methods, and succeeding. Japan is transforming from feudal society to industrial power in a single generation, faster than any nation in history. But in the process, the old ways are abandoned, the old values are discarded, the samurai are forgotten, or worse, remembered, as obstacles to progress, as remnants of a backward age, as embarrassments to a modern nation. The old man still keeps his swords, though he cannot wear them in public. He polishes them, sometimes remembering when they meant something, when they defined who he was, what he was, why he existed. Now they are just metal, just objects, just memories of a dead world. His grandson visits, a young man, 20 years old, wearing Western suit, working for a bank, modern, forward-thinking, embarrassed by his grandfather, by the old ways, by the samurai past. Grandfather, he says, you should get rid of those swords. They are from a barbaric age. Japan has moved past such things. The old man says nothing, just looks at his grandson, sees the future in his eyes, a future where samurai are forgotten, where honor is irrelevant, where money matters more than loyalty, where success is measured in profit, not in service. Is this better? He wonders. This modern world, this new Japan, he does not know, cannot know, can only observe that something has been lost in the gaining of something else, that the samurai, for all their faults, for all their violence, for all their rigidity, believed in something beyond themselves, lived for something greater than profit, died for something that mattered, to them at least, even if the world no longer understands, no longer values, no longer remembers what that was. But the world moves on, with or without. Understanding, with or without. The samurai, with or without the old ways. Japan modernizes, industrializes, militarizes, becomes a power, defeats China, defeats Russia, shocks the world with its transformation, and in doing so, proves that abandoning the samurai was necessary, was right, was the only path to survival. In the modern world, the old man dies 1890, quietly. In his sleep, his swords are sold to a collector. His grandson does not want them, does not understand them, does not remember the world they came from. This is how the samurai truly end, not in battle, not in glory, but in forgetting, in irrelevance, in the quiet death of old men, whose world has already died and been buried and been paved over with railways and factories and the machinery of the modern age. But something strange happens in the decades that follow, as the last samurai die, as the living memory fades, as the reality becomes history. The samurai are rediscovered, reimagined, romanticized. The flaws are forgotten, the violence, the rigidity, the oppression, the pointless deaths, the tragic waste, all forgotten, replaced with a romantic ideal of honor, of loyalty, of courage, of noble warriors, living by a code, dying for principle, beautiful in their dedication, tragic in their end. This mythic samurai bears little resemblance to the reality, to the complex, contradictory, often brutal reality of actual samurai. But the myth is more powerful than the truth, more useful, more inspiring, more beautiful. The Japanese government embraces this myth, uses it to inspire loyalty, to promote sacrifice, to justify military expansion in the name of samurai virtues, honor, loyalty, duty. The words remain, but the meaning has changed. Now they serve not individual lords, but the emperor, the nation, the empire. Soldiers are told they are samurai, fighting with samurai spirit, for samurai honor. They die in millions in World War II, believing they are following Bushido, following the code of the samurai. But they are not samurai. They are conscripts, peasants, workers, dying for modern imperialism, disguised as ancient honor. After the war, after defeat, after the bombs, after occupation, Japan changes again. The emperor renounces divinity, the military is disbanded, the empire is dissolved, and the samurai myth finally dies for a while. But myths do not stay dead, they transform, adapt, return in new forms. The samurai become entertainment, movies, television, novels, comics, video games. The whole world discovers the samurai, or rather, the mythic version, the romantic ideal, the beautiful tragedy of warriors living by honor, dying for loyalty. This samurai, more real now than the actual historical samurai ever were. This samurai lives in imagination, in story, in the eternal present of myth, where they never grow old, never adapt, never compromise, never face the boring reality of administration, of peace, of ordinary life. They exist forever in the moment of perfect honor, perfect loyalty, perfect courage, the moment before the world changed, before modernity, before guns, before the end. And in that moment, frozen forever, they are perfect, beautiful, tragic, noble, everything the real samurai tried to be, sometimes succeeded, often failed, but always remained human, flawed, contradictory, complex, real. But the real cannot compete with the ideal. The truth cannot match the beauty of the myth. And so the myth wins, becomes the memory, becomes the legacy, becomes what we think when we think of samurai, not the reality of Shinsuke dying in Aizu for a lost cause, not the tragedy of women and children committing suicide for honor, not the complexity of warriors trying to navigate impossible codes in difficult times, but the simple, beautiful, tragic myth of perfect warriors in a perfect age that never was, but should have been. The sun sets on the samurai age. The last warrior becomes memory, becomes story, becomes myth. The swords rust, The armor decays, the castles crumble, but the legend grows, stronger, brighter, more beautiful, with each passing year, until it becomes immortal,
Eternal. Perfect. In its imperfection. True.
in its falsehood, real.
In its imagination.
This is the final victory of the samurai, not in battle, not in life, but in death, in memory, in the stories that survive, when the warriors are dust, when the castles are ruins, when the age
Is gone.
the story remains. The legend persists, the samurai live on, not as they were, but as they wished to be, as they tried to be, as we imagine they were. In the golden age, that exists, only in story, only in dream, only in the past, that never was, but always will be, in memory, in myth, in the eternal present, of legend, where samurai never die, where honor never fades, where the sword never dulls, and the warrior's path continues forever. In the stories we tell about who we wish we could be, about values we wish we had, about a world we wish existed, simple, clear, honorable, where right and wrong are obvious, where loyalty matters, where courage counts, where death has meaning. This world never existed, not for the samurai, not for anyone, but we need it to exist, in story, in imagination, in the space between what was and what we wish had been. And so the samurai live on in this space, forever young, forever brave, forever honorable, forever dying for causes that matter, in deaths that have meaning, in a world that makes sense, even as it ends, even as it fades, even as it becomes nothing more than memory, than story, than dream, of warriors who lived by honor, who died with dignity, who left behind a legend that will never die, as long as humans tell stories about courage, about loyalty, about honor, about the price of living by a code and dying for what you believe. The samurai age is over. The samurai themselves are gone, but the samurai spirit, whatever that means, whatever that is, lives on, in story, in memory, in the quiet moments when we wonder if we would have the courage to live that way, to die that way, to believe in something so completely, so absolutely, that we would give everything for it. Most of us would not, could not, should not perhaps, in a complex world where absolute certainty is often dangerous, where codes can be prisons, where honor can demand atrocity, but still we wonder, still we dream, still we tell stories about samurai who knew with certainty what was right and did it without hesitation, without doubt, without regret, even unto death. This is the gift the samurai left behind, not wisdom, not guidance, not a code we can follow, but a dream of certainty, of honor, of meaning, in a world that often seems to have none. And perhaps that is enough, perhaps that is all we need, from the past, from the dead, from the warriors who lived and died in a world so different from ours that we can barely imagine it, but we try, we imagine, we remember, we tell stories, and in those stories the samurai live forever, perfect, beautiful, tragic, noble, everything we wish we could be, in our finest moments, in our bravest hours, in the face of death, of defeat, of the end, of everything. This is how the samurai finally, truly achieve immortality, not in life, but in legend, not in truth, but in story, not in history, but in memory, where they remain forever, unchanging, eternal, the last samurai, the perfect warrior, the noble soul who lived by honor and died for loyalty and left behind a legacy that will never fade, as long as humans dream of being something more than what we are. The castle stands, silent in moonlight, stone walls rising against the night sky. This image returns again and again. The castle in darkness, the samurai within, preparing, always preparing for what must come. Let this image settle in your mind. The castle walls, gray stone, weathered by centuries, by rain, by wind, by time itself. The walls stand, as they have stood for generations, will stand for generations more, solid, permanent, unchanging, even as everything changes around them, within them. The people come and go, Warriors are born, warriors die. But the walls remain. The castle remains. A constant presence, in the landscape, in memory, in dream, inside the castle, a courtyard. Empty now, in the deep night, but in morning, warriors will gather here, as they always do, as they always have, to practice, to train, to prepare. The movements are always the same. The sword rises, overhead, descends, in a perfect arc again, and again, and again, the same movement, repeated, until it becomes, not thought, but reflex, not choice, but nature. This is the way of the warrior, repetition, until perfection, or as close to perfection as humans can reach. The sword cuts through air, through space, through time, connecting this moment to all the moments before, to all the warriors who made this same cut, this same movement, this same gesture toward perfection. In the dojo, wooden floors, worn smooth by countless feet, by generations of students, walking the same path, making the same movements, learning the same lessons. The floor remembers every step, every stance, every fall, every rise. The wood holds memory of all who trained here, all who struggled, all who persevered, all who became what they needed to become, through practice, through repetition, through the endless cycle of learning. A student stands, holding position, muscles trembling, wanting to stop, but not stopping, not yet, not until the teacher says to stop. This moment, this struggle, this endurance, this too is eternal, has happened countless times before, will happen countless times again. The student, holding position, learning that the body
Can endure more than the mind, believes that will is stronger than flesh, that discipline
overcomes
discomfort, pain, desire to quit. The teacher watches, silent.
patient. He has seen this struggle in every student, including himself. When he was young, when he stood in this same place, holding the same position, learning the same lesson, nothing changes. Everything remains. The same struggle, the same learning, the same path, generation after generation. Student becoming teacher, teacher once student. The cycle continues, unbroken, eternal. A garden behind the castle, carefully arranged, stones placed with perfect intention, each one exactly where it should be, not by chance, but by design, by centuries of aesthetic refinement, by understanding that beauty requires order, requires attention, requires care. The stones do not move, do not change, remain exactly as placed, year after year, decade after decade, century after century, permanent in their arrangement, eternal in their meaning. A samurai walks through this garden, slowly, observing, appreciating, finding peace in the unchanging, in the permanent, in the carefully ordered beauty. His mind quiets, his breathing slows, his spirit settles. This is meditation, this is peace, this is the balance to the violence of his profession, the stillness to counter the chaos, the beauty to redeem the brutality. He walks the same path he has walked 1,000 times, will walk 1,000 times more, each time the same, each time different, because he changes, even as the garden remains the same. This is the paradox of the warrior life: change within, constancy without, growth through repetition, understanding through the same lessons, learned again and again and again, until finally they are truly known, truly understood, truly part of who you are. The moon rises over the castle, full, bright, casting silver light over stone walls, over tiled roofs, over the sleeping town below. This moon has risen countless times over countless castles, over countless warriors, sleeping, waking, training, fighting, dying. The moon does not care, does not change, does not remember, just rises, just shines, just moves across the sky, as it always has, as it always will, long after the castles crumble, long after the warriors are dust. The moon will rise, will shine, will move, eternal, indifferent, beautiful. Inside the castle, a samurai sleeps on a thin mat in a small room, his swords within reach, always within reach, even in sleep, even in dreams. A warrior must be ready, must be prepared, must be able to wake, to fight, to defend, in an instant. This is the burden, and the discipline, of the warrior life, never fully at rest, never fully safe, never fully able to let go, of vigilance, of readiness, of the constant awareness that death could come at any moment. But tonight, there is no danger. Tonight there is only sleep, deep sleep, peaceful sleep, the sleep of the exhausted, of the disciplined, of those who have worked hard enough, long enough, to earn this rest. His breathing is deep, is slow, is regular, and out, the rhythm of life, the rhythm of peace, the rhythm that connects this sleeping warrior to all warriors, to all people, to all living things, breathing and out, forever, as long as life continues. The breath continues, the rhythm continues, the connection continues to everything that lives, that breathes, that exists. In this moment, in every moment, in the eternal now, where past and future meet, in breath and out, the castle sleeps, the town sleeps, the world sleeps, in darkness, in quiet, in peace. Morning will come, light will return, activity will resume, but now, there is only stillness, only darkness, only rest. This too is part of the cycle, day and night, activity and rest, waking and sleeping, the cycle that governs all life, all existence, all being. No one escapes this cycle, not the emperor, not the peasant, not the warrior. All must sleep, all must rest, all must surrender to darkness, to stillness, to the nightly death that prepares us for morning's rebirth. The training ground waits, empty in darkness. The wooden practice swords rest in their racks. The targets stand, silent and still, all waiting for morning, for the return of students, of teachers, of the endless cycle of practice. But now, there is rest, there is stillness, there is the quiet between one day and the next, the space where nothing happens, where everything rests, where the world catches its breath. Before beginning again, a warrior's armor rests in the corner of his room, each piece carefully placed, carefully maintained, ready for when needed, but not needed now. Now there is only peace, only rest, only the quiet of the deep night. The armor waits, patient, unchanging. It has waited before, will wait again, has protected, will protect when the time comes. But that time is not now. Now is for sleep, for rest, for letting go, of vigilance, of readiness, of the constant preparation for violence that defines the warrior life. In sleep, the warrior is just a man, just a human, just another being, breathing, dreaming, resting, no different from anyone else. In this moment, the sword lies in its scabbard, the blade perfectly still, not moving, not cutting, not killing, just existing, in potential, in possibility, in readiness, but not in action. The sword waits, as it has always waited, as all swords wait, for the hand that will draw it, for the moment that will require it, for the purpose that will justify its existence. But that moment is not now. Now the sword sleeps too, in its own way, dormant, inactive, at peace, until needed, until called, until the moment arrives that transforms it from object to weapon, from metal to instrument of death, or protection, or justice, or whatever purpose the wielder gives it. But now, there is no purpose, no wielder, no moment, only stillness, only darkness, only the quiet of the deep night. Cherry blossoms, in moonlight, petals white, against dark branches, beautiful, fragile, temporary, they bloom for such a short time, a week, perhaps two, then fall, drifting down, like snow, covering the ground, in white. This is the image that samurai cherish, the beauty that does not last, the perfection that must end, the life that blooms and falls all too soon. This is how they understand their own lives, beautiful, brief, destined to fall at the height of their bloom. This is not sad, not to them. This is right, this is proper, this is the way of all things, of all life, of all beauty. To bloom, to peak, to fall, before decay, before diminishment, before the slow decline into meaninglessness. Better to fall like the blossoms, beautiful, complete, perfect, in the moment, before the end. The petals drift, slowly, gently, carried by wind, falling, always falling, but in no hurry, taking their time, floating, dancing, descending, to earth, where they will, nourish the tree that bore them, become soil, become food, become part of the cycle that continues, beyond their brief, individual existence. Everything returns to the earth, everything nourishes what comes next, everything has purpose. Even in ending, even in falling, even in death, a stream flows through the castle grounds, clear water, over smooth stones. The sound, constant, unchanging, has flowed here for centuries, will flow for centuries more. The water is always different, never the same molecules, never the same drops, always moving, always changing, always new, and yet, the stream remains the same path, the same sound, the same presence, in the garden, in the castle, in memory. This is the paradox of existence, constant change, within unchanging form, always moving, always still, always different, always the same. The water flows over, around obstacles, finding its path, always downward, always forward, never stopping, never resting, never questioning its purpose, its direction, its nature. It simply flows, as water must, following the way of water, the path of least resistance, the ancient pattern that water has always followed, will always follow, cannot help but follow. This is its nature, this is its way, this is what it is to be water. The samurai studies this, learns from this, tries to flow like water around obstacles, without resistance, without struggle, without fighting what cannot be changed, just adapting, just moving, just continuing on the path that must be followed. This is wisdom, this is understanding, this is the way of the warrior who has learned when to fight and when to flow, when to resist and when to adapt, when to stand firm and when to yield, like water, which seems soft, seems weak, but overcomes the hardest stone through patience, through persistence, through following its nature, without deviation, without doubt, without end. The night deepens, the moon crosses the sky, stars wheel overhead, the eternal dance of celestial bodies, moving as they have moved since before humans existed, will move long after humans are gone, indifferent to our struggles, to our stories, to our brief lives that flicker like candles against the infinite darkness of space, of time, of eternity. We are small against this vastness, our lives brief, our concerns trivial, and yet we matter to ourselves, to each other, to this moment that we share, this breath, this heartbeat, this existence, however brief, however small, however insignificant, against infinity. It is ours, it is real, it is all we have, and so we make it mean something. We create meaning where none exists. We build codes and honor and purpose out of nothing but our need for meaning, for order, for something to believe in, to live for, to die for. This is what the samurai did, created meaning in a meaningless world, created order in chaos, created purpose in the random violence of feudal Japan. They made it mean something. Their lives, their deaths, their code, whether it was real or illusion, hardly matters. It gave them something to hold in the darkness, something to believe as the world changed around them, something to pass on to the next generation, the next warrior, the next student, standing in the training hall, holding position, learning the same lessons that have always been learned, will always be learned, as long as humans seek meaning, seek purpose, seek something beyond mere survival. The dojo waits, the garden waits, the castle waits, all waiting for morning, for the return of activity, of purpose, of meaning. But now, in the deep night, there is only stillness, only quiet, only the slow, peaceful, restful darkness that holds everything in gentle suspension between what was and what will be. In the eternal now of sleep, of rest, of peace, a candle burns in the temple, flame steady, unwavering, light in darkness, small but persistent. The flame has burned for hours, will burn for hours more, until the wax is consumed, until the fuel is exhausted, until the light goes out. But for now, it burns. steady, constant, a small point of light in vast darkness, like a life, like a spirit, like the human consciousness that flickers, briefly, against the infinite night. The flame does not fear its ending, does not mourn its brevity, does not question its purpose. It simply burns, as flames do, giving light, giving warmth, giving itself completely to the moment of its burning. This is how the samurai tried to live, completely present, completely committed, completely alive, in each moment, knowing that the flame will go out, that the life will end, that everything is temporary, but burning brightly anyway, because that is the nature of flame, of life, of being, to burn while you can, to give light while you exist, to matter in the moment before the darkness returns. The incense smoke rises slowly, gracefully, curling in invisible currents, rising toward the ceiling, dissipating, becoming nothing, becoming air. The scent remains, sandalwood, cedar, sacred, calming, connecting this moment to ritual, to ceremony, to the countless times this incense has burned in this temple, in temples before, in ceremonies, for the dead, for the ancestors, for the spirits that watch from beyond. The incense carries prayers, requests, gratitude, to wherever prayers go, to whoever might listen, to the vast mystery that surrounds our small lives, our brief existence, our momentary flicker of consciousness. In the universe, the smoke rises, and we watch, and we breathe, and we rest, in the certainty that we know nothing, understand nothing, control nothing, but exist, here, now, in this moment, breathing, being, resting, in the gentle darkness that holds everything. A bell sounds, in the distance, deep, resonant, the temple bell, marking time, marking hours, marking the passage of night toward dawn. The sound fades, slowly, the vibrations continuing, long after, the strike, fading, into silence, into stillness, into the quiet that follows, all sound, all activity, all being. Eventually, we return to silence, to stillness, to the peace that underlies everything. The bell will sound again, in another hour, another moment, another breath, but now, there is only the fading, the returning, the settling back into quiet, into rest, into the deep peace of the night. The warrior sleeps deeper now, beyond dreams, beyond thought, beyond awareness, just being, just breathing, just existing, in the most fundamental, most basic, most essential state of life. Breath and out, heartbeat, steady, slow, everything else falls away, all the complexity, all the duty, all the code, all the honor falls away, leaving only this breath, heartbeat, being, the simplest, most profound reality, that we exist, that we breathe, that we are here, now, in this moment, this eternal moment. That is all we ever have, all we ever truly possess, this breath, this heartbeat, this now, and it is enough, it is everything, it is all that matters. In the end, when everything else falls away, when the castle crumbles, when the swords rust, when the warriors are dust, this remains, this breath, this moment, this eternal now, where nothing ends, where nothing begins, where everything simply is, has always been, will always be, beyond time, beyond change, beyond the brief flickering of individual lives, in the vast ocean of existence we breathe together, all of us, warriors and peasants, past and present, living and dead, all breathing the same air, all sharing this moment, this existence, this mystery of being. The breath continues, and out, connecting everything in the web of existence, where nothing is separate, where everything is one, where the warrior and the castle and the garden and the stream and the moon and the stars are all part of the same eternal mystery. Breathing, being, existing, together, forever, in this moment, that never ends, that never began, that simply, and always, will be. Rest now, in this knowing, in this peace, in this eternal moment, where all is well, all is complete, all is, as it should be. Rest, breathe. The castle stands, in moonlight, the warrior sleeps, the garden waits, the stream flows, the moon crosses, the sky, everything continues, everything rests, everything is perfect, complete, eternal, in this moment, in every moment. In the one moment that contains all moments, past, present, future, all one, all now, all here, in breath, in being, in the eternal peace of existence, rest, sleep, nothing more is needed, nothing more exists, but this breath, this moment, this peace, forever, and ever, in the gentle darkness that holds everything with infinite tenderness, with perfect peace, with eternal love for all that exists, all that breathes, all that is, rest in this, forever. The night holds you, the darkness cradles you, the peace surrounds you, you are safe, you are home, you are at rest, in the eternal now, where nothing can harm you, where all is well, where everything as it should be, sleep, deep sleep, peaceful sleep, in the arms of eternity, in the heart of being, in the breath of existence, sleep and be at peace forever. The samurai sleeps, the castle rests, the world turns slowly, gently, through the night, toward morning, but morning is far away. There is time, so much time, for rest, for sleep, for peace. Time stretches into eternity. This moment lasts forever. You are held in the gentle embrace of the night, of the darkness, of the peace that passes all understanding. Rest here, stay here, sleep here, in this eternal moment of perfect peace. The breath slows, deepens, becomes almost imperceptible, almost nothing, but still, continuing, still, breathing, still, being, in the space between sleep and something deeper,
Between being and not being.
between this world and whatever lies beyond. Rest in this space, this peaceful borderland, where nothing is required, where everything is given, where you simply are, without effort, without struggle, without anything but being. The castle, the warrior, the garden, the stream, the moon, all fade into the gentle darkness, all become one with the night, with the peace, with the eternal stillness that holds everything. You fade too into this peace, into this stillness, into this eternal rest.
Where there is no self,
No other, no separation, just
being, just peace, just this.
forever. Sleep, deep, peaceful, complete sleep in the eternal now, where all is well, where all is one, where all
Peace.
the night is ending. Slowly, so slowly, the darkness still deep, still complete, but somewhere, far to the east, the faintest suggestion of change, not light yet, not dawn, just the possibility of morning, still hours away, but coming, as it always does, as it always will. You need not worry about the morning, not yet. There is still so much time for rest, for sleep, for this peace that holds you gently, completely. The castle rests in darkness, the stones, cool, silent, holding the night, holding the quiet, holding centuries of nights, just like this one, where warriors slept, where peace descended, where the world paused. Between one day and the next, you are part of this now, part of the castle, part of the night, part of the endless succession of peaceful moments that have been, that are, that will be, forever. The garden lies still, under stars, the stones, in their perfect places, the water, still flowing, so quietly, almost silent, just the gentlest whisper of movement, of continuation, of the eternal flow that never stops, never rests, but moves so gently that it becomes part of the silence, part of the peace, part of the rest. You can hear it if you listen very softly, the water over stones, so gentle, so peaceful, so perfectly calm. It invites you deeper into rest, into sleep, into the quiet that has no end. The warrior sleeps, his breathing so slow, so deep, so peaceful, each breath taking minutes, or feeling like minutes. Time has lost all meaning. In this depth of rest, there is only the breath, so slow, so calm, so gentle, rising, falling, like waves on a distant shore, barely moving, barely there, just the suggestion of breath, of life, of being, continuing, without effort, without thought, without anything but this gentle, rising, falling, being. You can match your breath to his, so slow, so deep, so peaceful, letting go of any need to consciously, just allowing the breath to happen by itself, without you, without effort, without anything, just breathing, just being, just resting, in the deepest, peace. The swords, rest. In their stands, the metal, cool, still, waiting, but not needing anything, content, to simply be, to exist, without purpose, without use, without the violence they were made for, just resting as you rest, just being as you are, just existing, in this moment of perfect peace. The armor waits in the corner, each plate in its place, each cord properly tied, ready, but not needed, not now, not in this perfect darkness, this perfect quiet, this perfect peace. Everything waits, everything rests, everything exists, in stillness, in silence, in the gentle embrace of night. The stars continue their dance, so slowly, across the sky, moving, but appearing, completely still, eternal, unchanging, fixed points of light. In infinite darkness, they have watched over countless sleeping warriors, over endless nights, over the rise and fall of empires, of ages, of everything human, and they remain constant, eternal, indifferent, beautiful, in their distance, in their silence, in their eternal watch. Over all who sleep, beneath them you sleep, beneath them too, under their watch, under their light, under the same stars that have watched over everything since the beginning, will watch until the end. You are safe under their gaze, safe in the darkness, safe in the night, safe in this eternal moment of rest. The moon has crossed most of the sky, now descending toward the west, its work nearly done, its light growing softer, more distant, as it prepares to set, to give way to the sun that will come eventually, but not yet, not for hours. The moon still shines, still watches, still blesses the sleeping world with its silver light, its gentle glow, its peaceful presence. You rest in this light, soft, silver, peaceful. The moonlight falls on you, gentle as a blessing, soft as a caress, peaceful as a lullaby sung by the night itself to all who sleep within its embrace. The temple bell sounds one last time before dawn, deep, resonant, peaceful. The sound rolls across the sleeping town, across the fields, across the world, touching everything, blessing everything, reminding everything that all is well, that peace remains, that the night still holds the world in gentle darkness. The sound fades so slowly, the vibrations continuing long after the strike, becoming part of the silence, enriching it, deepening it, making the quiet even more profound, even more complete, even more perfect. And in that quiet, you rest, deeper still, beyond thought, beyond dream, beyond awareness, in the place where sleep becomes something more, becomes peace, becomes stillness, becomes union with the eternal quiet that underlies everything. The incense has nearly burned away, just the faintest trace of scent remains. Sandalwood, sacred, peaceful, a reminder of prayers, of ceremony, of the sacred nature of this moment, of all moments, of existence itself, which is always sacred, always holy, always deserving of reverence, of peace, of gentle rest. You breathe this sacred air, this blessed darkness, this peaceful night, and you are made holy by it, made peaceful, made complete. In this moment of perfect rest, the castle is barely there now, more dream than reality, more memory than stone, fading into the night, into the peace, into the gentle forgetting that sleep brings. The walls dissolve, the towers fade, the gardens disappear into mist, into dream, into the soft darkness that holds nothing and everything at once. The warrior is barely breathing now, so deep in sleep that he seems almost not there, almost gone, into the peace, into the dark, into the rest that knows no end. You are like him now, barely there, barely breathing, barely existing in any way that can be known or named or held, just dissolving into peace, into rest, into the gentle nothing that is everything. The stream still flows, but so quietly, you cannot hear it anymore. It has become silence itself, movement that is stillness, sound that is quiet, being that is nothing and everything at once. The cherry blossoms have all fallen now, the branches bare, waiting for another spring, another blooming, another brief moment of beauty. but that is, far away, in another time, another season, another world, than this one, where there is only night, only darkness, only the deep peace of complete rest. All images fade now, all stories end, all words dissolve into the silence they came from. There is nothing left to say, nothing left to show, nothing left but this peace, this quiet, this gentle darkness that asks nothing, requires nothing, offers everything. You have heard the story of the samurai, their rise, their glory, their code, their end. But now, the story is over. The words are done. There is only this rest, peace, sleep, the deepest sleep, the most complete rest, the most perfect peace you have ever known. Let go of everything. Now, let the samurai fade, let the castles dissolve, let the stories drift away like cherry blossoms on the wind, beautiful for a moment, then gone into the peace that receives everything, that holds everything, that is everything. You are held so gently by this darkness, by this peace, by this love that asks nothing but offers everything. Rest completely, sleepy, deeply at peace. There is nowhere to go, nothing to do, nothing to be, but this rest, this peace, sleep, so deep, so complete, so perfect, that you forget everything, even yourself, dissolving into the peace, becoming the peace, being nothing but peace forever. The night continues, will continue for as long as you need, hours, days, forever.